Upon entering a cultivation novel game, I became an NPC in the starter village. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 26. It's her. Among all the forums, the most popular post is a post with a picture. Never steal rags from other people's homes, otherwise you'll, up. The one who stole the things was my friend who I grew up with. The thing is, the village chief is an old man, very nice, and introduced us to many tasks, but my friend didn't want to do the tasks, he just wanted to explore this new world. One day, when he was squatting on a tree looking for fruit to eat, he suddenly saw an NPC below, secretly taking out a piece of cloth from home. Seeing her mysterious look, my friend thought it was a big treasure, so he stole it. The man chased my friend without saying a word, and my friend ran away, but who knew that he was stopped by a girl? Then, look at the picture, this is the punishment for stealing. As the game Ancient is about to be launched, this post has become more and more popular, and finally even became a hot search. The spectators expressed their opinions one after another. Star chasing girl, oh my god. This NPC is so cool. Love it. From now on, the little sister will be my goddess. Good girl, it seems that NPCs are not easy to mess with. I have to do the tasks obediently in the future. The most handsome man in the galaxy, so real. Then won't my beauty charm thousands of girls? It's really annoying. History student, that's not a rag in the picture, right? That should be the menstrual belt used by ancient women. Equivalent to today's sanitary napkins. Impossible. This is what the NPC said himself, it's a rag. The most handsome man in the galaxy, didn't I say that NPCs might lie? You guys are not being deceived, are you? History student, in the real ancient times, the atmosphere was relatively conservative. If people found out that you stole their menstrual belts, these women would most likely be driven out of the village. The more ruthless ones would even be killed. Passerby, oh my god. This is terrible. After hunting and collecting a wave of supplies crazily in the mountains, more than half a month had passed when Yunxi came down the mountain. Looking at the people coming and going at the foot of the mountain, it was as lively as a village in a modern town. Yunxi? Did she take the wrong road and go to another village? However, after walking around the village and seeing familiar people and familiar houses, she was stunned. This is her village. Her home. Why are there so many people suddenly? After packing up and taking 2 rabbits, she hurried to the village chief's house. However, along the way, many people were staring at her with strange eyes, as if they were still talking about something secretly. Yunxi paused and slowed down. If it were before, she might not be able to notice that these people were staring at her. Because although they were staring at her secretly, they seemed to be looking at flowers and plants on the surface. If she hadn't dealt with animals more in the mountains, she wouldn't be so sharp. But the strange thing is that these people are all people she has never seen before. Why are they suddenly staring at her with such strange eyes? There are so many other villagers passing by, but no one cares. Yunxi walked slowly to the village chief's house with a rabbit, but her ears were erected high. Is it her? Just now in the discussion. I checked the picture, it's definitely her, then let's stay away. Otherwise she'll hurt us by accident. What are you afraid of? No matter what, she's just a little girl. She doesn't even look like an adult yet. Yes, my brother has practiced it, he was invincible before. Yunxi was puzzled. Where did the picture come from? Who is she? She came to the village chief's house with full of doubts. Fortunately, although people kept paying attention to her along the way, they didn't have any bad intentions, instead they avoided her when they saw her. Village chief, I caught a lot of prey in the mountains, and I'll send you 2 rabbits. The village chief looked at the 2 fat and big rabbits and grinned. Okay. I haven't eaten rabbit meat for a long time. I'll cook 2 good dishes in the evening, and you can come and eat them too. No, the rabbit meat I have is already stewed, and it will be almost ready to eat when I go back. She shook her head and rejected the village chief's kindness. You can air dry the rabbit meat and eat it slowly. The village chief nodded happily. By the way, village chief, why are there so many people outside suddenly? Thinking of the group of people staring at her outside, Yunxi felt a little uncomfortable. Even if they had no ill intentions, she didn't like being treated as prey. They are new adventurers. If you don't want to see them, I'll let them stay away from your yard. Lu Yunxi shook her head. Forget it, they also need to do some work for food. If these people can't find work to do, then there will be thieves running out of the village. Before leaving, she said in a low voice, Village Chief, I will be leaving the village in a few days. She had learned all the skills taught by the villagers, and the rest she had to practice repeatedly. She felt it was time to go out and take a look, as her aunt still had no clues at the moment. What? The village chief was stunned for a moment, and suddenly became nervous. Then he seemed to think of something and relaxed, his voice getting smaller and smaller. Well, I dare not let ordinary people go out before they are 18 years old, but you are different. Maybe you have the opportunity to go to that legendary place. Lu Yunxi looked at the village chief talking to himself, a little puzzled. Village chief, what are you talking about? What legendary place? The village chief waved his hand, pondered for a long time, and finally looked up at her. His eyes were complicated and difficult to understand. Go, and bring a letter to my wife and children to see how they are doing. As for the legendary place, I don't know much about it, but I heard that when some people's martial arts skills are high to a certain level, they can find an academy and learn very powerful kung fu there. Speaking of which, your Lu family has an ancestor who entered the academy, but unfortunately after he went out to make a living, he only came back once and then disappeared. The village chief was a little regretful. It's a pity that he didn't explain clearly what the academy was at the time. Anyway, you go out and take a look, maybe you will have this opportunity too. After hearing about the legendary academy, Lu Yunxi returned home in a daze. It took her a long while to come back to her senses, and she read the Lu family archery over and over again 3 times. In addition to the training part, the Lu family archery also talks about the ancestors' travels, but there is no mention of any academy. She suspected that what the ancestors said at the time might not be about the academy, and the village chief and others must have heard it wrong. She didn't think about it anymore, and sent wild rabbits to every household, and said goodbye to them by the way. Daya also sent a lot of dried meat privately, asking her to hide it and eat it herself. Chapter 27. Something happened. Early that morning, Lu Yunxi put all the valuable things in the house into the space, and only carried a small package outside, which contained some food, and was about to go out to explore. However, before she left the village, she heard a scream that resounded through the sky. She couldn't help but pause, hesitated for a moment, and turned back to the place where the sound came from. The sound came from the end of the village. She was almost at the entrance of the village. When she got there, there were already many people gathered there. Looking up and seeing the familiar house, her heart sank suddenly. Something happened to the Li family. She suddenly stopped in place, her feet seemed to be filled with lead, and she couldn't lift them up. It was not until she saw Daya's dazed back through the crowd that her stiff body slowly recovered. She took a few deep breaths and approached Daya. Daya, what happened? She had only said half of the words when she saw the familiar figure not far away, who was now lying on the ground with his eyes closed. Grandma Li. Her pupils shrank suddenly, and her lips moved slightly. Grandma Li, who had taken care of her after her parents left, who would personally make sweet-scented osmanthus cake for her to eat, who would come to accompany her at night, just left like that. Looking at the wound on Grandma Li's chest, Lu Yunxi's eyes burned with rage. Yunxi, Li Daya, who was next to her, took a while to notice her, and threw herself into her arms like a baby bird seeing its mother. Lu Yunxi hugged Li Daya quietly, letting her cry in her arms. She cried heartbreakingly. She held Daya in one hand and gently patted her back with the other hand, but her emotions gradually calmed down. Her eyes kept scanning everything in front of her, trying to see through every clue. Grandma Li was kind, although old-fashioned and nagging, but she was not a bad person, and she had never said bad things to anyone, so she would not get into trouble for her own death. If it was not a vendetta, then could it be a murder of love? That was even more impossible. Could it be for money? But as far as she knew, the Li family was not a wealthy family. How could anyone do it for money? Lu Yunxi felt that her head was tied up in a knot, and she couldn't figure anything out. Until Li Daya cried so much that she fell asleep in her arms. Lu Yunxi, who worked day and night and kept running outside, finally got a clue. You said it was an adventurer. Why did the adventurer attack Grandma Li? Yes, you know those adventurers always like to hide in the trees. In the morning, an adventurer climbed up the wall of Li's house. Lu Yunxi followed the person who was talking and found the adventurer. The two stood far away and talked casually. The adventurer didn't realize that they were staring at him. Are you sure it's this person? I'm sure, you should be careful. This person is really cruel. I don't know how Li offended him. Lu Yunxi's eyes casually swept over the adventurer not far away, and his face was deeply imprinted in her heart. After paying the reward, she wandered around the area, found out the man's residence, and returned home. At night, the villagers fell asleep, and only a few adventurers were still wandering outside. Lu Yunxi took advantage of the night and jumped a few times to the place where she had scouted in the morning. In the house, the candlelight was bright, and the men's laughter came from the house. Lu Yunxi hid in the dark, quietly watching the excitement in the house, her eyebrows moving slightly. Are there so many people in the house? When she was thinking about whether to find a way to lure that person out, the person inside suddenly spoke. Ha ha ha. It's really fun here. It's not like outside, where you will be wanted for killing someone. What? Qi Yan, you actually killed someone? A man was shocked. What? Don't you know yet? There's an old woman at the back of the mountain, nagging every day. Sometimes she tells me to take a bath every day, and sometimes she tells me to coax a woman. Me. Qi Yan. Need to coax a woman. The man who spoke was the person Lu Yunxi was looking for. A strange light flashed across his gloomy eyes, and he laughed. What kind of woman do I want? Do I need to nag that damn old woman? I'm annoyed by her, so I might as well get rid of her. I heard that there are a few tough guys in the village. I'm afraid they will cause trouble for you. You should be more restrained these days, someone advised worriedly. Oh. You are too timid, aren't you? What powerful characters can there be in this village? I'll wait to hear. Qi Yan laughed disdainfully, with a cruel light flashing in his eyes. I tell you, it's great to do it here. Tomorrow I'll look for a suitable prey, or find a woman. Kill one a day, and then the whole village will die in my hands. Maybe I can achieve something. Lu Yunxi stood outside, quietly listening to the people inside talking nonsense. With the cold light flashing in his eyes, the night gradually deepened. The village was completely quiet. Who are you? Qi Yan shouted, avoiding the arrows piercing him, staring at her with his eyes. Lu Yunxi looked indifferent and ignored his words. The group of people had been talking for so long just now, and she could hear that this person was a wanted criminal. But for some reason, he was not caught and was hurting people everywhere outside. From what he said, he wanted to continue to attack the villagers. This man is too dangerous. He is different from the previous thief and must be dealt with seriously. I'm your father, she sneered and shot an arrow in an instant. After a fierce battle, Qi Yan fell to the ground. He was particularly unwilling to accept it. How long has he been wanted? Those good-for-nothings in the interstellar space couldn't do anything to him. And he actually failed here. He actually lost. Losing to an NPC is fine, but he actually lost to a female NPC. He stared at the woman in front of him unwillingly. Let me go. Stinky woman. Believe it or not, I'll show you what I can do later. Lu Yunxi was very calm. Since you said so, I can't let you go. The next day. Early morning. Village chief. The village chief rubbed his eyes in a daze and looked at the sun that had just risen outside. Oh? It's Xiaoxi? You came here so early. Is there something wrong? This man is the one who attacked Grandma Li today. What do you think we should do? After saying that, she lowered her voice and held down Qi Yan, who was struggling desperately. From what he said, he seems to do such things often. Will it be dangerous to put such a vicious person in the village? The village chief suddenly woke up after hearing this, frowned and looked at Qi Yan. His expression was a little solemn. After thinking for a long time, he frowned and said, well, you leave the people here first. I have to go to the town to ask someone. What to ask? Lu Yunxi was a little puzzled. In this case, if they don't send them to the government office immediately, they will stay here for the new year. You don't know, these adventurers can't go to the town without a letter of recommendation, so we can only go to the town to ask the officials to deal with it. Lu Yunxi. This ancient time is really troublesome. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story, and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 28. Too sensitive. Okay, I'll watch him first. You go find someone. Lu Yunxi nodded and held down the person next to her who was ready to move. In terms of fighting power, She was the most powerful in the village, so she was the most suitable person to guard this person. However, this wait lasted for more than half a month. The villagers finally invited the town's police officer to come. The leading police officer slightly raised his head with his hands behind his back. Seeing that the village chief and others wanted to follow him into the woodshed, he immediately raised his hand to stop them. "I will go in and interrogate him, you just wait outside." The village chief hesitated. "This, police officer, this man is extremely vicious, I'm afraid he might hurt you. What if this police officer was injured here? What would happen if their village was bullied every day in the future?" The police officer glared at them. "What? Do you mean that my skills are not as good as those of the people in your village? Even a tied-up person can hurt me easily." "Of course not. You are a powerful officer, naturally no one can compare to you. Aren't we afraid that the people in there will be desperate?" The village chief smiled again and again. Yunxi hid in the crowd, watching this scene without any sense of existence, but she had a subtle feeling in her heart. The feeling of this police officer was completely different from that of the village chief. Finally, the police officer glared at the village chief unhappily, flicked his sleeves, and walked in by himself. His subordinates stopped the villagers outside the yard. Even with Yunxi's hearing, he couldn't hear what was said inside. After standing outside for half an hour, the police officer walked out slowly. His face was radiant, as if he had encountered something good. "I already understand the matter," the police officer nodded to the village chief. "I will take this person away. You don't need to worry." After speaking, he waved his hand, and two subordinates went in and brought the person out. The villagers stood at the entrance of the village, watching the carriage of the police officer go away, and they all breathed a sigh of relief. "Great. Now we can finally rest assured. I didn't sleep all night last night, I was afraid that someone would suddenly break in." The village chief also turned his head to look at her. "Yunxi, the murderer has been taken to the government office, now you can go out and explore without worry. Be careful on the road." After a pause, Yunxi slowly nodded. However, when she looked back and saw the carriage turned into a black dot, she didn't know why she always felt inexplicably uneasy. Was she too sensitive? She had no dreams all night. Yunxi made dry food and packed her bags again. This time she was really going out to explore. Who knew that before she stepped out of the door, she heard a crackling sound next door. The screams of the villagers, the sound of things being thrown, and the cries of fear intertwined into one. Is it over? Every time she goes out, she will encounter trouble. Otherwise, she will ask someone to calculate the date next time and find an auspicious day suitable for going out. Putting down the package, she sighed helplessly and rushed to the scene of the incident. However, the scene she saw from afar made her heart sink suddenly. Qi Yan, who was taken away by the police yesterday, appeared in the village again. Holding Xiuxi's brother with one hand and holding a dagger tightly against Xiuxi's neck with the other hand. "Let go of the hostage," the men standing in front shouted, but they didn't dare to get close at all, for fear that the man's hands would shake with excitement. Xiuxi's mother cried uncontrollably, "Hero, please let him go. Let me do it. I'll take his place." "Ha ha ha," the man laughed, with a cruel light in his eyes. "Don't be afraid, I won't let anyone in the village go, and you can go down to accompany him soon." After speaking, his hand holding the knife moved quickly. The above things seemed to be very long, but in fact, they happened in just a moment. Yunxi was far away, and when he rushed to the vicinity, he was already one step too late. Looking at Xiuxi's brother lying on the ground, and Xian who was laughing wildly and killing people, her pupils shrank fiercely. She was stunned on the spot. Until a familiar scream broke her thoughts. Suddenly coming to her senses, what she saw was Daya's eyes wide open, slowly falling to the ground. The whole world seemed to freeze. The sound of fighting, shouting, and the sound of weapons colliding, all faded away. She was stunned on the spot, and felt a chill rushing from the soles of her feet to the top of her head. "It's so cold. How could it be so cold?" She approached Daya on the ground step by step, and her fingertips couldn't help trembling. Daya. Don't joke with me. Don't joke with me. Get up quickly." However, the person on the ground still closed his eyes quietly, and his bloodless face was pale and silent. She knelt on the ground quietly for a long time. A roar. The group of people who were fighting were startled by the heartbreaking roar, and all turned their heads to look at her. However, the next second, a sharp arrow was released instantly, shooting straight at Qi Yan. Qi Yan's eyes sharpened, and he wanted to dodge, But he found that he had no way to avoid it, and he couldn't avoid this attack at all. He was shocked. How could this be possible? He is an A-level wanted criminal in the interstellar space. Yunxi didn't know what he was thinking, but he felt as if he had entered a mysterious world, and there were only himself and Qian in the whole world. As several arrows were shot in succession, Qian's injuries became more and more serious, and the blood loss made him begin to blur his consciousness. He gritted his teeth and tried his best to make himself more awake. Damn. It seems that the woman is better at long-range combat. Thinking of this, he clenched the dagger in his hand and approached Yunxi. Yunxi also quickly pulled out the dagger at his waist and blocked his attack that went straight to the door. Humph. Sure enough, you were able to beat me before, but it was also when I wasn't paying attention. Otherwise, with your ability, you are not my opponent at all. After fighting with her for a few moves, Qian couldn't help but become arrogant. After saying that, he looked directly at the villagers who were seriously injured next to him. Tell your villagers to come and die quickly. After this woman dies, it will be their turn. This reminded Yunxi of Dia, who fell to the ground again. The emotions that had finally calmed down fluctuated again, and her eyes turned scarlet. You deserve to die? Her voice was hoarse like a ghost, and her figure was so fast that it was unclear. Rip sounded. Qian lowered his head in astonishment, looked at the wound on his chest, and widened his eyes in disbelief. This. How is it possible? He stared at her and fell to the ground unwillingly. Looking at Qian, who fell to the ground and gradually lost his breath, tears slowly slid down from the corners of Yunxi's eyes. Dia, don't be afraid, I'll avenge you. She closed her eyes and calmed down her surging emotions. After a long while, her tied heart was no longer so stuffy. However, the moment she opened her eyes, she was shocked. Chapter 29: The Blocked Road. Qian's body was actually disappearing gradually. Yunxi took 3 or 2 steps forward and stretched out her hand to grab Qian's body, but she didn't touch anything. There were only a few light spots left on her fingertips. Why is this happening? The villagers were still on the ground, but Qian disappeared. The difference between Qian and the villagers, adventurers. Do all adventurers disappear after death? Or is Qian the only one special? Is Qian actually some kind of mountain monster, not a human at all? She frowned and felt that she was in a cloud of doubt. However, she didn't have much time to figure it out, and the crying sound behind her sounded again. I don't know how long I stood there, and when I came to my senses, I saw the village chief standing beside her. Yunxi, don't worry too much, he patted her shoulder with some comfort in his eyes. None of us thought that he could escape from the eyes of the government. Yunxi lowered her head and said softly. It was not until the night deepened that she returned home stiffly. The empty mood lasted for more than half a month before it was barely calmed down. Yunxi carried her bag on her back, and when she stepped out of the village, she couldn't help but breathe a sigh of relief. Great! She finally walked out of the village safely. After wiping the sweat from her forehead and walking about a few hundred meters, she looked back carefully at the village and remembered the 3 words Mushroom Village on the village tightly in her mind. After looking for a long time, when she was about to turn around, she suddenly moved in her heart and subconsciously used the detection technique. Mushroom Village, a cursed village. She paused and suddenly remembered that when she investigated Liu Bao's situation before, she mentioned that she was cursed. After pondering for a while, she kept this matter in mind, and finally took a deep look at the village, and then left the village, never looking back. After leaving the village, there was only one road, and Yunxi quickly moved forward along this road. At about noon, she wiped the sweat from her forehead, found a shade to sit down, and prepared to eat something. However, at this moment, a familiar voice suddenly came. That stinky woman. If she has the guts, she should stay in the novice village forever and don't come out, otherwise I will make her pay. Yunxi paused suddenly, quietly looking for a place to cover herself, and quickly glanced at the 2 men who were talking not far away. One of them was Qian, who was dealt with by her a few days ago. That day, she saw Qian disappear in front of her eyes. He couldn't be alive. But the man in front of her, whether it was the breath, figure or voice, was exactly the same as Qian. Qian, don't be so cruel next time. Look at you, because you killed so many NPCs, you can't enter the novice village now. The man next to him complained, if your rebirth point hadn't moved to the suburbs, I wouldn't have to come to accompany you, causing all the girls I had finally picked up before to be gone. Humph. In the final analysis, this game is not good. NPCs are just some data. What's wrong with me killing them? Qian snorted in dissatisfaction, touched his somewhat deflated stomach, grabbed the weeds on the ground and stuffed them into his mouth. Hey, don't eat it yet, let me check the illustrations, I don't know if it's poisonous. The man next to him shouted hurriedly. After the two walked away, Yunxi came out from the dark, with an inexplicable look. NPC? Novus Village? Were those two people just kidding? She lowered her head and pondered. Recently, adventurers suddenly appeared in the village. Some attacked the villagers like slaughtering pigs and dogs, some made a fuss when they saw weeds, and some always broke into other people's homes without feeling sorry. That's right. If the world she was in was just a game, and the so-called adventurers were players, then everything made sense. Who would care about the thoughts of data? Who would care about the lives of the so-called NPCs created by data? Yunxi suddenly felt very funny, and she couldn't help laughing with her face covered, laughing so hard that tears were about to come out. It turned out that she was an NPC. At first, she thought she had traveled through time to ancient times, and then she got the space bracelet, so she thought it was a world of immortal cultivation. Even if the spiritual energy disappeared, it was once a world of immortal cultivation. Who knew that she traveled through time and space, in fact, was a world of virtual online games? It was so funny. After a burst of almost crazy laughter, her eyes were blank, like a zombie, standing there blankly. It was not until night fell that she finally came to her senses, moved her stiff body, and found a place to rest. After experiencing a violent emotional fluctuation, she was also very tired, and fell asleep soon after eating the next morning. After a nap, Yunxi calmed down. For players, this is a game world, but for her, this world is real. Whether it is the poisonous insects and snakes in the mountains and forests, or the parents who carefully took care of her growing up, and the friends who always accompany her when she is troubled, they all exist in reality. So, she has no need to worry. Unless the game company wants to delete her data, she will not be in danger. To put it another way, even if the game company suddenly takes action, it is not something she can stop. In comparison, those players who like to make trouble are more dangerous to her. Just like Qian, they don't take the lives of NPCs as their lives. Fortunately, the player has just entered the game not long ago, and she still has time to improve her martial arts. Because the growth of players also takes time. As long as she becomes the strongest NPC in the whole world, then the players can't do anything to her. Therefore, she must work madly, and only by becoming stronger than others can she save her life. Thinking of this, Yunxi took a deep breath, refreshed herself, and quickly rushed to the town. The location of Mushroom Village is remote. Even at her fastest speed, it still took her 2 days to finally reach the fork in the road that the villagers said. The fork in the road splits into 2 roads, the west leads to the town, and the east leads to Jianzhou. After just a pause, she went east. Of course, the more prosperous the place is, the easier it is to meet heroes in the martial arts world. By the way, let's go and see how much a house in Jianzhou costs. It's the same when you go back to the town. However, Yunxi thought well, but reality did not go according to her ideas. Before she walked far, she suddenly hit a wall. A transparent wall. She could vaguely see the scene on the opposite side. But it seemed to be blocked by something and she couldn't get through. Yunxi tried to shoot an arrow to break through, but it was useless. In the end, she had to give up Jianzhou and turn to the town. On the way to the town, she suddenly remembered that no one in the village seemed to have been to Jianzhou, even though they had heard of this place a long time ago. Could it be that everyone had hit an air wall? Chapter 30 Arrival in Town. Yunxi traveled frantically day and night, and finally arrived in the town after a few days. In the town, pedestrians occasionally walked on the street. The vegetable shopping lady was bargaining with the vendor, and the children walked by with candied haws in their hands, laughing and joking. She passed through the low residential area and came to the busiest street. Looking at the shop selling steamed buns and breakfast next to her, she swallowed her saliva, and finally went to the village chief to buy a house for everyone to live in the town. Don't ask her why she is so frugal. She only has a few copper coins in her hand. If she spends it now, she won't be able to find it when she needs money later. Fortunately, the town is not big. In addition to the residential area, there are only a few streets. She found the place quickly. The wife of the village chief knew that she came from the village, and her eyes lit up immediately. She smiled and took her hand. How is the village recently? Is everyone okay? Lu Yunxi paused, and finally just chatted briefly, without saying anything too specific about the bad things recently. By the way, she handed the letter from the village chief to her and went to rest. After traveling day and night for several days, she couldn't stand it anymore. It wasn't until late at night that Lu Yunxi finally woke up. Looking at the pitch-black sky outside, she ate something casually. After that, she didn't want to sleep anymore, so she simply opened the system to take a look. Name, Lu Yunxi. Identity, Mushroom Village Villager. Level 23. Primary. Age 15. Appearance 90. Strength 247. Agility 239. Spirit 122. The attributes have been greatly improved. Looking at this panel, she felt a little relieved. More than 200 strength and agility should not be bad. Then she looked at other panels, and only then did she realize that the system that had not been open for a long time had changed again. The title had a separate section, and there were 2 more sections for favorability and forum. The favorability is divided into 2 parts, NPC and player. The favorability of the villagers is mostly above 80, and there is only one player, Qian, who was killed by her. The favorability is -100, and there is a parenthesis behind it, which says, an enemy who will attack when they meet. She glanced at it lightly, skipped it, and went straight to the forum. When she saw the content in the forum, she was immediately excited. This forum was not the forum she imagined to share with NPCs, but the forum on the player side. Surprise! There is a big guy in our novice village who attacked NPCs. Now his resurrection point has changed and is not in the safe zone, where the clothes of ancient people so thick. In the hot summer, I wore dozens of layers and almost died of heat. After reading it with relish for a while, she clicked on the most popular post. The village chief of the novice village is a goddess. What should I do? Up, everyone, look at the picture. This is our goddess. Oh my god. I don't want to leave the novice village anymore. I want to stay here with my goddess forever. Young Master Feng Liu, what? Why is our village chief such a fierce old man? Damn it. I am a good person. Up, please delete the post. I heard that you have been showing off here. Some players are not satisfied with their village chief and have complained to customer service. The game will be updated in a few days. Maybe your village chief will also become a big man with a beard. Up, who is it? So wicked. So shameless. The most handsome man in the star. Up, don't listen to the nonsense above. It is impossible to delete the data of a certain NPC casually in such a large-scale holographic online game with high authenticity, because these NPCs are very intelligent. If you delete the data randomly, other NPCs around will find that something is wrong and there will be confusion. At that time, the whole game may crash. XX game programmer. Yes, if someone deletes the data randomly, it will take 1 or 2 years to reorganize it. The whole game will have to be shut down. Seeing this, Lu Yunxi couldn't help but sit up straight. His eyes lit up. What she was most worried about was that she would be deleted directly as a piece of data. But if no one outside randomly deleted the data, then she would be safe. In the future, as long as she practiced martial arts well and became a master, she would not have to worry about her life. Lu Yunxi carefully read most of the posts, and after confirming that the game company would not take action against her, she rolled on the bed with joy. There is only one martial arts hall in the town. Just go straight and turn right, but the fee there is very expensive. Do you really want to go? The wife of the village chief looked worried. The master said in the letter that the little girl of the Lu family had helped the village so much, and asked her to try her best to help find a job. But she could only arrange some cleaning jobs for her. 4 other jobs? How could she arrange people to go in? Moreover, she did not expect that the little girl of the Lu family actually wanted to learn more powerful martial arts. I'll go and see later. Lu Yunxi smiled gratefully. Thank you for telling me this news. If she went to find out by herself, she didn't know how much time it would take. What's there to thank for this? The village head's wife waved her hand, thought for a while, and gritted her teeth. The martial arts hall only teaches the most basic martial arts. The minimum for a class is 500 copper coins. In this way, you can work in our house, just clean every day, and I'll give you 300 copper coins a month. How about it? In fact, she has always hired someone to clean the house for 100 copper coins a month, but thinking that the Lu family's children have helped their master so much, at most, she can do more work and earn more money. Lu Yunxi paused for a moment, and instantly understood the kindness of the village head's wife. Before leaving, she had roughly inquired about the salary level of the jobs here. The village head's wife gave a price that was obviously higher than the market price. This is to take care of herself. Thinking of this, her heart warmed and she laughed. "Thank you, village head's wife, but I plan to try to find a job in the restaurant." The village head's wife secretly breathed a sigh of relief, but she was a little uneasy. After all, this was the person that the master repeatedly asked her to take care of. "Well then, if you can't find a job in town, come back to me. You can stay here all the time. There are plenty of empty rooms." After Yunxi thanked him repeatedly, she turned around and walked around the town carefully. Finally, she found a job in the only store with the word restaurant written on it. She was paid 500 copper coins a month, not including food and accommodation. And all tips belonged to her. This treatment is considered the best in the whole town. Although ordinary chefs don't get much tips. That night, Yunxi took an advance on her salary and paid a month's rent according to the consumption level in the town. Although the wife of the village chief tried her best to refuse, she couldn't persuade her in the end. After all, in the past, when the villagers found a job, they would make up the accommodation fee. The wife of the village chief needs money to hire someone to clean and repair the house. Chapter 31 Chef Competition. Yunxi started her working life in the small town. Xiaolu, 1 portion of braised meat, 1 dish of grilled fish, and 1 plate of stir-fried vegetables. "Okay," she responded immediately, and several stoves were turned on at the same time, and her hands moved quickly. After about half an hour of busy work, it became quiet outside, and the guests left one after another. "Did you change the chef today? The broth tastes so good. I didn't expect that there is a chef who cooks so delicious in our town. The taste of the stir-fried vegetables is crisp and juicy, not to mention how beautiful it is. Hey, this chef is so good, why doesn't he participate in the chef competition? Isn't our town always laughed at by the neighbors for not having a good chef? But I heard that the new chef is a woman. No woman has ever won a prize in the chef competition." The voices of the guests gradually faded away, but Yunxi kept the chef competition in mind. When there were no customers in the afternoon, the shopkeeper looked satisfied and praised her a lot, so she mentioned it casually. "Chef competition." The shopkeeper was stunned, and then introduced it to her. "This chef competition is recommended by each town to compete in the city. The top 3 will get prizes. It's a pity that no one in our town has ever won a prize. If you go, I advise you not to go. This competition is really terrible." "Prize?" Yunxi's eyes lit up, and she completely ignored the last sentence. "What's terrible? How terrible can a cooking competition be? The most important thing now is that she has to save enough money as soon as possible to go to the martial arts school to learn." "How much prize money?" She rubbed her hands impatiently. The shopkeeper seemed to be looking at a lost teenager, his eyes full of pity. "The prize money is indeed not small. It seems to be several silvers. If you must go, just go to the government office to sign up. The next competition will be in 3 days." "Come on," he said, "come on," but the expression on his face was "you will never win." She twitched her mouth, not knowing why the shopkeeper had no confidence in her. Her cooking skills are at least intermediate now. After work, Yunxi asked someone about it. It turned out that the chefs of the restaurant had participated in the chef competition before, but they all failed in the end. Failure was fine, they were hit too hard, and they couldn't continue to cook after failure. So the restaurant can only keep looking for new chefs. After hearing this, she was a little surprised, but she still went to the government office to sign up. Because the process and theme of the chef competition are different every year, it is useless for her to understand the previous competitions, so she didn't bother to ask. On the day of the competition, Yunxi asked for leave from the restaurant and went to Jianzhou from the teleportation array in the government office. Jianzhou is much larger than the town, with convenient access and heavy traffic. The roads are wide and flat, the houses next to it are neatly arranged, and the pedestrians have smiles on their faces. While the competition has not started yet, Yunxi walked around nearby to find out some news. When passing by an alley, she heard 2 familiar words and was about to stop moving forward. "The academy is going to recruit people this year, right? Are you going to sign up?" "Yes. The academy teaches both civil and martial arts." "Which academy are you going to? Need I say that? The academy is originally good at civil arts, and the martial arts academy is just to deceive those outsiders who don't know the truth." Everyone knows that the martial arts academy is not good. Anyone with a little bit of ability will not go to the academy to learn martial arts. Academy? She remembered that the village chief had told her before that her ancestor had been to the academy before, and became very powerful after returning, but the academy was very mysterious, and she didn't know if she could find it. Yunxi, is this the mysterious academy? I was actually ridiculed like this. The passers-by walked away, and she wanted to follow them and continue listening to them. However, at this moment, a man suddenly ran out from the corner, looking at her breathlessly. Yunxi, right? It's almost your turn. What are you still wandering around here for? The man looked at her unhappily and pulled her away. Come with me. You will be in the third row, third seat later. Yunxi paused for a moment, and ran 2 steps with him before she came to her senses. She turned around to look at the people behind her, but found that those passers-by had already left, leaving only an empty street. She pursed her lips with some regret. That's all. She'll come back to ask after she finishes the competition. The person in charge of commentary at the top saw that all the contestants had arrived, and immediately smiled and said to the audience below, "Good morning, chefs and audience. The first competition of the Jinzhou division of this chef competition is about to begin. Those who pass 3 competitions and get a place will represent Jinzhou in the national competition." Yunxi listened to the rules and looked at the chefs around her, and was a little surprised. She didn't expect there were so many participating chefs. She simply counted and found that there were about 40 or 50 stoves on the scene. Because there are limited stoves, chefs enter the competition in batches according to different towns. In other words, her opponents in the first competition are all chefs from her own town. But even so, there are 10 competitions in one day. And I heard that stoves are also placed in different areas of Jinzhou, and they are held at the same time. Jinzhou city is very large, and there are nearly 100 towns under its jurisdiction. The preliminary competition alone will take several days. Fortunately, the first competition was tasted by the audience, otherwise, with only a few judges, they would vomit even if they tasted a bite of each dish. But she was lucky, their town was the second batch to enter, and the audience was not very full at this time. Just as the people on the stage were talking non-stop, the onlookers next to them also whispered, "Did you see that cook?" The previous cooks were so embarrassed. "I didn't expect that a woman would dare to come up now, Alice. This cook is so pretty. What a pity. When she runs away crying later, I don't know how everyone will laugh at her. I was laughed at so much that I didn't dare to go out to see people for a month." Although the discussion was very small, Yunxi could hear it clearly with her hearing. However, before she could react, she heard the host on the stage announce the topic. The theme of this competition is staple food. Please tell the waiter below what you need and they will find the ingredients for you. In a quarter of an hour, the competition will officially begin. The host looked at the theme given by the judges and sang loudly. She immediately put the audience's words behind her and pondered. The time for cooking was only 45 minutes. If she made stewed rice, she would not have enough time to make it fragrant, soft and delicious. In the end, she decided to make cold noodles. In addition, the weather is very hot now, and eating cold noodles will also improve the audience's appetite. When all the ingredients she needed were ready, she started to get busy. Yunxi first simply prepared a base soup, then kneaded the noodles and cut them into strips. After the noodles were cooked, they were rinsed with cold water and put into the base soup. Finally, cucumbers, tomatoes, and meat slices were cut into strips and placed on the bowl. Finally, half a hard-boiled egg was added, and it was done. If ice cubes could be added, it would feel perfect. Unfortunately, there were no ice cubes, so she could only put the cold noodles in the well water to cool them down. However, even if they were placed in the well for a while, Yunxi was still the contestant who took the shortest time in the whole field. She finished quickly and submitted the dish. Chapter 32, Meat. Because it was for the audience to taste, Yunxi made a full 10 bowls of cold noodles, which was barely enough for everyone outside to have a bite. Delicious. It's delicious in summer, husband. I just saw how the cook made it. If you like it, I'll make it for you when we get home. I guarantee you'll think mine tastes much better than hers. Grandma, I want more. Okay, my dear grandson likes it. I'll give you all the noodles in this bowl. Seeing the audience's reaction, Yunxi secretly relaxed a little, while the chefs next to him became nervous. This cook is not only fast, but also delicious. It seems that she is also a big enemy. However, It is easy to make mistakes when you are nervous. As they kept looking at Lu Yunxi, the stoves also made puff sounds from time to time, and then a burnt smell came out. Fortunately, Lu Yunxi had already scored the points at this time, so he could leave directly without having to endure this unpleasant smell. Lu Yunxi participated in 2 competitions and was eliminated in the second one. There are so many masters in Jinzhou. In the first competition, the people in their town competed among themselves. In the second competition, the towns were disrupted. Surprisingly, every chef could make a blue-quality dish. And the ingredients given in the second competition happened to be ingredients she had never made before, so she only made green-quality dishes in the end. Fortunately, she won the first place in the first competition and got a lot of bonuses, a full 10 silvers. This money is enough for her to learn something in the martial arts hall. The next day after getting the money, after work, she hurried to the martial arts hall. The martial arts hall really teaches the basics, including basic boxing, basic palm techniques, basic whip techniques, etc. Lu Yunxi calculated her savings and tried to learn basic light skills first. What was surprising was that although a class cost 500 copper coins, after taking a class, light skills were added to her skill panel. After that, as long as she brushed up her proficiency, it could be upgraded by itself. She immediately learned all the skills in the martial arts hall. In the days that followed, she worked during the day and practiced madly at night, until the first adventurer appeared in the town. It was a relatively quiet time in the restaurant. After cooking, she was practicing basic internal skills with her eyes closed, and suddenly heard a voice coming from outside the window. "Look everyone. This is the town. So did the ancient people live in places like this? This house is so short, I feel like I have to bend down when I go in. Were the ancient people very short? But I don't think the NPCs are short. Look. There are shops on this street, and the houses look much taller, and more imposing than the houses in front. That's right. Everyone give a thumbs up and pay attention. The anchor is the first one to enter the town to broadcast live. Where to go? Is there any place you want to go? Let me see. The one on the left is a furniture store, and the one on the right is..." Lu Yunxi stood at the window, quietly watching the anchor running around, touching the lanterns at other people's doorsteps from time to time, and picking up oranges at other people's doorsteps. Many people were so angry at the anchor that they jumped up and down, and picked up brooms to drive him away. After watching for a while, she couldn't help but laugh. A few days after this person appeared, adventurers could be seen everywhere in the town, and it was very lively. "Master Lu, there is a person outside ordering dishes, saying that he wants to be served 1 dish each of sour, sweet, bitter, spicy and salty." The waiter came in with a bitter face. He felt that the guests outside were just making things difficult for him. How could they order dishes like this? Lu Yunxi's hand paused slightly, and he raised his eyebrows. Could it be the dishes ordered by the adventurer? "Master Lu, you are too amazing." "You guessed it right." The waiter gave a thumbs up with an amazed look. She smiled. After all, she had a rough idea of what the previous regular customers liked to eat, and suddenly there was such a strange person, who looked like he had just come recently. "Does he have any other requests?" "No." Lu Yunxi nodded. "Okay, you go and rest for a while, I'll cook for him." After that, she glanced at the ingredients in the kitchen, and finally made pickled fish, bitter melon and pork shreds, boiled pork slices, stir-fried vegetables and osmanthus cake, making up 5 different flavors. After the waiter took all the dishes out, he came in with a happy face. "Master Lu, you are really amazing. The guests outside are eating so deliciously, and they even asked me to send you a tip." This time Lu Yunxi was really a little surprised. Although she had agreed with the restaurant that all the tips belonged to her, in fact, she had never received any tips. Relatively speaking, the waiter could get a few copper coins. She smiled immediately. This was the first time she got a tip, even if it was only a few copper coins. She was very happy. However, the waiter handed her a full 1 silver. Lu Yunxi widened her eyes. Are the players now so rich? By the way, Master Lu, that guest wants to see you. What do you think? Do you want to go out and meet him? The waiter handed her the silver and asked again. Lu Yunxi pondered for a while, but still shook her head and refused. "Forget it, I will do whatever he likes next time he comes." "What's the point of seeing me?" The waiter nodded and went out to answer. She happily put away the silver, not caring about what happened today. StarCraft, Capital Star, Fu family. The game cabin slowly opened. Fu Jinheng opened his eyes and walked out of the room. Third brother, you are out? How is it? Is the game fun? The young man who was sitting lazily on the sofa saw him and immediately sat up straight. Originally, when the first game company sent the game cabin over, he wanted to play it. After all, he just happened to be on summer vacation. Who knew that his third brother was actually at home? He couldn't beat his third brother at all, and could only watch his third brother snatch the game cabin away. Seeing that Ancient was so popular on the internet, he had been itching to experience it. It's a pity that a game cabin can only be bound to one person, and then other people can't log in. Otherwise, while the third brother is resting, he can also go in and experience it. Fu Jinheng didn't pay attention to the crazy little brother, but stood there silently, not knowing what he was thinking about. After a long time, he suddenly said, "Brother, do you think that the things in the game are likely to appear in the real world?" "Third brother, are you confused? I heard that Ancient Times was made according to the information excavated from the Blue Star. Where do we have these things? Just a piece of cloth scraps. I don't know how many billions of star coins it would cost to buy it. I'm not talking about those cultural relics." Fu Jinheng shook his head speechlessly, and pondered again. "I mean, for example, if we learn to make medicine in the game, can we successfully make medicine in reality?" Ha ha ha. "Third brother, you are too funny, right? How can you believe this kind of thing?" The young man almost fell to the ground with laughter. "The things in the game are all equipped to you instantly. In the game, I can even call the wind and rain." Fu Jinheng ignored him at all. It's not like he hasn't played holographic large-scale online games before, but just like what the younger brother said, you can learn all kinds of skills with just one click. For example, people who don't know how to use mechas can become god-level mecha masters. But Ancient is different. All the skills in it have to be learned by people themselves. For example, the boxing he learned before was really learned by following the NPC's one punch and one kick. So he wondered if the things in it were true. If it is true, then the first game company is really amazing. They can actually get so much ancient information. And the most important thing is the delicious meal he had in the game today. It's much more delicious than what the major hotels in the galaxy make. If he can learn it, step back. Even if he doesn't learn it, he can send someone in to learn it. A light flashed in his eyes, and he immediately ordered the younger brother beside him, immediately order a large number of game cabins from the game company, and make sure everyone in the family has one. Chapter 33 Rumors. Yunxi looked at the man standing in the kitchen and sighed secretly. Originally, the kitchen was her territory, but now there was one more person, which was really a bit of a hindrance. "Master Lu, you are here." As soon as he saw her, the man's eyes lit up, showing a big smile, and greeted her with enthusiasm. "Chen San," she twitched her eyes, "I have said that my cooking skills are only average. If you really want to learn cooking, you should find a better chef to learn from." This ordinary-looking adventurer, named Chen San, was the customer who tipped her that day. After she refused to meet him that day, he did not pester her, but came to support her every day and pestered the shopkeeper to learn cooking. The shopkeeper was pestered by him and had no choice but to leave him to her. Chen San set his eyes on her and stayed in the kitchen every day. Yunxi was helpless. Her level was only intermediate at present. Once she went to Jianzhou, there would still be many senior chefs. At that time, he would definitely regret becoming her apprentice. You can only learn from one master. You can't learn from other masters in the future. Think about it carefully, Yunxi persuaded again and again. The requirements here are still very strict. You can only learn from one master for one skill. Otherwise, it is a betrayal of the master and ancestors, and you will be despised wherever you go. However, she said this almost every day, but Chen San didn't seem to take it to heart. "Master Lu, I believe in you. Please teach me. The best dishes I have eaten in my life are made by you." Chen San's ordinary face, a pair of eyes sparkled. Yunxi looked at those eager eyes and couldn't say anything. Is Chen San's life so hard in the real world? He hasn't even eaten anything delicious. Although he comes to her place to eat every day, she has only cooked for him a few times. There must be something delicious among so many snacks and dishes outside, right? Let me think about it. After rejecting him too many times, even she couldn't bear to reject him again. That's it. Let's practice the drag strategy first. After a while, when the adventurer level goes up and she can enter the city, Chen San won't chase her anymore. Chen San saw through her thoughts at a glance, and continued, "Master Lu, please accept me as your apprentice. I have inquired about it, and I will take care of you in your old age." If there's anything inconvenient for you to do, I will help you do it. I will be very obedient, and I will do whatever you tell me to do." Yunxi was a little headache because of him pestering her, and suddenly she had a flash of inspiration. "Well, I do have some troubles here. If you can help me, I will teach you to cook." Shen-san was stunned for a moment. "What troubles? Our village is called Mushroom Village, and it is cursed. I want to know how to solve this problem. Another problem is that I am looking for someone now, a person named Lu Xunyang, 35 years old, with half a jade pendant on her body." Shen-san, who was still waiting for her to continue, was suspicious. "That's it? No other news?" "That's it." She had asked the whole town and didn't get any news. It seemed that she would have to go to a bigger place as soon as possible. "As long as you can find out relevant information, I will teach you how to cook." Shen-san's eyes lit up, and he immediately went forward to help light the fire happily. It's not that he was asked to solve it completely, but just to find out the news. He didn't believe that with his ability, he couldn't find out. "Master, what are we going to do today?" Yunxi glanced at the shameless Shen-san, and didn't correct his address. "Today, a guest has reserved the second floor and asked for barbecue. You wash the vegetables over there first." Shen-san nodded hurriedly and went to work immediately. She started to deal with the complicated ingredients. They were busy and didn't notice that the village head's wife and the shopkeeper were chatting and passing by the kitchen door. When they got off work that night and returned to the door of the house, they saw the village head's wife with a strange face. "Village head's wife, what's wrong with you? That face was too distorted, and I thought she was sick." Ahem, the wife of the village head seemed to be choked and kept coughing. Her face turned red. "Well, I heard that you have found a, person now, right?" Yunxi was a little puzzled. "What do you mean you found a person? Did my aunt have news?" "No." "Hey," the wife of the village head covered her face with a handkerchief, looking embarrassed. "I'm talking about the man who cooks with you. Is that the future husband you found for yourself?" Yunxi. "Future husband? Yes, don't hide it. I saw it when I was chatting with the shopkeeper. The two of you cooperated with each other in the kitchen. Don't mention how well matched you are." The corners of the wife of the village head were almost grinning to the back of her head, and her eyes were full of gossip. "Madam, please stop joking." Yunxi twitched her lips and explained reluctantly, "He may be my future apprentice, but I haven't decided yet. I need to test him." The village head's wife smiled subtly. "I understand. You don't have to explain." After explaining for a long time, the village head's wife didn't believe it. Yunxi could only give up struggling and let the rumors fly everywhere. After returning home with difficulty, she fell directly on the bed in a big shape. She was tired. Suddenly, the whole world was full of gossip about herself and Shen-san. She and Shen-san? How could it be? They are not even from the same world. Okay. The next day when she went to work, Yunxi paid special attention to Shen-san's expression. Fortunately, Shen-san didn't seem to have heard the rumors about the two of them, and he was no different from usual when he was with her. Seeing that she kept staring at him, he still felt a little strange and touched his face. "Master, what's wrong? Is there something on my face?" She secretly breathed a sigh of relief, and the embarrassment in her heart disappeared in an instant. "Nothing. Haha." After relaxing, she laughed. "I just think you look particularly handsome today." As soon as she finished speaking, she heard a slight collision outside the door. Shen-san had his back to the door and was looking down at the fire, not noticing the movement outside. She immediately looked up and looked out the door. The shopkeeper was standing at the door, and seemed to have heard what she had just said. At this time, he showed her a knowing smile, nodded slightly, and left with a subtle smile. Yunxi. The shopkeeper's expression was a bit strange. On the way back that night, people who knew along the way were whispering. Little Lu from Mushroom Village found a husband for herself. He is very handsome. I have also seen her man. He looks like a young master from a big family. He is very white and clean. Oh! When he coaxed little Lu, don't mention how happy she was. Yunxi, it seems that this rumor will probably be spread for a long time. Whatever. Anyway, it's useless to explain it myself. After a while, they will know it's a misunderstanding. Chapter 34 Meeting Shen-san. A week later, Yunxi casually asked about the progress of the inquiry. Sorry, Master Lu, I haven't received any news about the task you assigned to me before. I'm afraid I have to wait for a while. Shen-san's tone was a little low. Generally, the tasks of the NPC in the town can be solved in the town, But he went around the town inside and out, and even asked the beggars on the roadside, but still didn't get any news. Later, he found a few of his friends who were not in the same place as him, but they didn't find anything there. Yunxi had long expected that it would not be so easy to find out, so she just nodded casually and didn't take it to heart. I know. Seeing that she didn't care too much, Shen-san also secretly breathed a sigh of relief. He was afraid that this task would suddenly become a time-limited task, which would be bad. At night, the bustling town quieted down. Fortunately, there were street lights on the side of the street. Although they were paper lanterns, there was some light, so it was not pitch dark. Yunxi looked at the sky, quickly climbed out the window and went out, and soon left the town. For her, the experience points that can be added in the current martial arts hall are too little, and the money spent is too much, which is not worth it. So she can only think of other ways to quickly improve the proficiency of various skills and improve the martial arts value as soon as possible. After a circle in the town, she set her sights on the wild beasts in the suburbs. The wild beasts here are much more dangerous than the wild beasts in the back mountain of Mushroom Village, including jackals, bears, tigers, etc. Although they rarely hang around at the foot of the mountain, some people have seen their figures in the deep mountains. When Yunxi walked to the foot of the mountain, her steps slowed down. The forest at night is very dangerous, and her visibility has become much lower. She can only use weapons to chop the trees and weeds that block the road while slowly moving up. After a night, she killed a wild boar and 5 jackals. The harvest was not much, because there were too many trees and it was difficult to move quickly in the forest, but the experience points were indeed much faster than those added in the martial arts hall. Sure enough, actual combat is the best way. Yunxi immediately decided to work during the day and fight monsters at night. She didn't believe that she couldn't become the best in the world after working so hard. While thinking about her future martial arts plan, she walked slowly to the restaurant. However, when she was halfway there, she suddenly heard the sound of kicking and stomping, accompanied by billowing smoke and dust coming from the front. Damn it! She couldn't see the road. Cough. After a burst of earth-shaking coughs, Yunxi barely saw a group of people sitting on horses and galloping through the smoke. She hurriedly covered her mouth and tried to move closer to the houses on both sides of the street to avoid the billowing smoke and dust. However, at this moment, she suddenly heard a meow and looked up to see a kitten tentatively stretching out its little feet and about to jump down from the low shed. No, she screamed in surprise, not caring about the pile of dust entering her mouth. The place where the kitten jumped happened to be the road where the horse passed by. If it jumped down at this time, it would definitely be trampled to death. However, the cat didn't understand human language, and the sound of the horse's hooves seemed to have frightened it. Its fur was about to explode, and its forelegs fluttered uncontrollably. Yunxi pursed her lips and took 2 steps forward. Before the next horse arrived, she quickly rolled over and leaped, and quickly hugged the cat in her arms. Fortunately, everything was fine until she hugged the cat. However, there are unexpected events. At this moment, a horse was frightened and its 4 hooves fluttered everywhere. The horse happened to be right next to her. Yunxi only felt a gust of wind passing over her head, and she turned her head subconsciously, and saw the hooves that were about to fall. However, she had nowhere to hide at this time. There was a house behind her, and other people next to her. She could only stare at the horse's hooves, ready to control the horse. However, the cat in her hand seemed to be frightened, its fur exploded, and it jumped forward without waiting for her to notice. Yunxi. Uncle Cat. You're running in the wrong direction. Seeing the cat about to rush into the galloping horses, she grabbed the cat and held it in her arms, and turned around to block the hoof with her back. Damn it! It hurts. She didn't know how long she had to stay here, the pain in her back was extremely unbearable. At this moment, her back suddenly felt lighter, accompanied by a familiar voice. Master, are you okay? Yunxi turned around and saw Shen-san standing behind her, with a thin layer of sweat on his body, looking at her with a worried look on his face. The crazy horse had completely fallen at his feet and stopped breathing. Looking at Shen-san's ordinary face, her heart suddenly beat wildly out of control. Bang, bang, bang. She subconsciously covered her chest, trying to hold down the crazy beating heart. I'm fine. However, what Shen-san saw was her face pale and covering her chest, and he was naturally more worried. Is your chest or heart injured? Shen-san's heart sank, and a trace of worry flashed across his eyes. He immediately squatted down and motioned her to climb onto his back. "Let's go, I'll take you to the clinic." She paused, looked at the cat that was gradually calming down in her hands, put it down, and then hugged his neck and lay on his back. Shen San's back was very broad. Lying on it, the warm heat came through the clothes, making people feel very safe. After fighting monsters on the mountain all night and encountering such an accident, Yunxi felt tired all over. Now she relaxed and fell asleep on her back, which was steady and almost vibration-free. When she woke up, she heard a dong-dong sound before she opened her eyes, and a smell of medicine permeated her nose. Yunxi slowly opened her eyes and saw Shen San sitting not far away, quietly guarding her, while the doctor stood by the counter, pounding the medicine pestle in his hand. "Master, are you awake?" Shen San came up to her in surprise and joy when he saw her wake up. She nodded. "I haven't gone to work at the restaurant today, don't worry, I've already asked for leave for her." He tucked the corner of the quilt for her. "Do you want to eat something?" "I'll go buy it." Yunxi sat up slowly, refusing Shen San's support, her voice still a little weak. "I don't want to eat yet, thank you for saving me." She looked around, but her heart trembled slightly. In the whole town, everyone knows that the clinic is the most expensive place in the town. She really doesn't know if her pitiful savings are enough. How much did it cost? "I'll pay it." Shen San hurriedly looked at the doctor in the clinic. "Doctor, how long will it take for her injury to heal? How much does the best medicine cost?" Yunxi was shocked. "The best medicine? No, no, no. I don't need the best medicine. I mean, I don't need to use medicine anymore. Just let the wound heal slowly by itself." She waved her hands repeatedly, fearing that she would be in debt because of the medicine money. The doctor ignored her words, stopped pounding the medicine, and started calculating. "For this injury, you used half a can of the special medicine made by the clinic, and took a dose of decoction. It costs 2 silver and 300 copper. Yunxi counted the silver in her hand and felt bitter. She didn't have enough money. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 35. Who is it for? When Yunxi counted the money with a bitter face, Shen San saw the subtle expression on her face at a glance, guessed something immediately, and said sympathetically, "Master, I still have some silver in my hand, let me advance it to you first." After that, he went to the doctor to pay the money. She secretly breathed a sigh of relief, fortunately with Shen San's help, otherwise she would really be at a loss now. However, this incident also reminded her that although she traveled to the world of holographic online games, she also had to live, and she couldn't have no money at all. Because she was afraid of tearing the wound, Yunxi could only put on her shoes slowly, but when she looked up, she happened to see a bookshelf. There's a bookshelf in the clinic. This decoration is really strange. The location of this bookshelf is very remote, placed in a recessed corner. If she hadn't entered the clinic, she wouldn't have noticed it. She took out a book and saw basic herbs on the cover. She opened a page and saw illustrations inside, which described in detail the usage, picking method, growing area, preparation method, etc. of each herb. Most importantly, her medicine skills, which had never improved, actually improved. Yunxi's heart was pounding. It turned out that the books in these shops could increase proficiency, and you could level up after gaining experience. She suspected that there might be books in other shops, but she didn't notice them when she went there before. "Doctor, how much is this book?" She immediately raised the scroll in her hand and waved it at the doctor. The doctor looked her up and down, and his eyes seemed to say, "You? Can you afford it?" He answered in a very cold tone, "One book on the first shelf is 10 silver coins, one book on the second shelf is 1 silver, and one book on the third shelf is 500 copper coins." Yunxi felt depressed, which means that the silver she had in her hand was only enough to buy a book on the third shelf. She flipped through the books on the third shelf and found that the contents were very simple. They were all what her mother had taught her. They were useless to her. It seemed that she could only wait until she had money to buy the books on the top 2 shelves. When she came out of the clinic, it was already night. The street was very quiet. Yunxi and Shen San said goodbye and went home the next day. Yunxi got up very early. When she went to the restaurant, even Shen San hadn't arrived yet. She found the shopkeeper and discussed it with him. After thinking about it, the shopkeeper agreed to her conditions. Okay, I will send the person to you in a few days, and you can let him use the things in the kitchen. Back to the kitchen, Shen-san had already arrived. He was surprised when he saw her. Master, why did you come so early today? Usually he would come to clean up first, and the master would come to the restaurant after he cleaned up. Lu Yunxi smiled faintly. Haven't you always wanted to learn to cook from me? From today on, you should practice well beside me. Shen-san was shocked, and then overjoyed. Really? That's great. Master, thank you. Although he guessed that it was related to his help to the master yesterday, he really couldn't refuse such a good thing. After all, he had people looking for so long, the information that the master asked him to find, but the people below still had no clue. After a pause, he seemed to have thought of something, and immediately poured a cup of tea from the side, knelt down, kowtowed 3 times respectfully, and completed the apprenticeship ceremony. Lu Yunxi was stunned by his actions. Others don't know, but doesn't she know? This Shen-san is a player at all. If a local NPC did this action, she would not be surprised, but a player, he doesn't need to do this. Unless, cooking is really important to him. But she really can't figure it out. What's so important about cooking? Could it be actually becoming a chef is his dream? Lu Yunxi glanced at her apprentice with complicated eyes, took the cup of tea and drank it. Okay, you should work hard in the future, strive to become a master chef as soon as possible, and become a great chef. She encouraged him a few words and gave him the red envelope she had prepared long ago. Of course, she didn't have any money in her hand, so the red envelope she gave was naturally not money, but the equipment she made herself. Although it was only blue, it was the best equipment she could make so far. What's more, there are only a few players who can get blue equipment at present, and most of them are still wearing novice clothes. However, Shen-san didn't care about what was in the red envelope at all. He put the red envelope into his backpack as soon as he got it, and only paid attention to her cooking. Lu Yunxi was a little amused and introduced the knowledge that her mother taught her. Chefs are divided into white case and red case. White case is mainly for making pasta, snacks and the like, and red case is mainly for cooking in the pot. Moreover, different places like different tastes. What kind of food do you like? We can start from what you like. Shen-san was a little stunned. How could he know what white case and red case were? He had never heard of them. He blinked his eyes. Well, I don't care about these. Any taste is fine, whether it's pasta or vegetables. I can learn all of these. Is this okay? Of course. She paused, nodded, and felt more pity in her heart. This child must have a hard life in the real world. Otherwise, he wouldn't even know what he likes to eat. By the way, who are you learning to cook for? She asked casually while processing the ingredients. Yes, he thought for a while, and still half-truthfully explained the situation. What if I didn't explain it clearly, and the dishes I made were not suitable for the old man to eat? My grandpa is sick, so I want to make something for him. The hand that was cooking couldn't help but pause. She looked up at his expression, and thought to herself, no wonder. Why did he have to learn to cook from me? Your grandfather, did the doctor tell you what to eat to replenish your body and what to avoid? You have to ask clearly, so that we can know what dishes to cook. Shen-san was stunned. The doctor didn't say anything that couldn't be eaten. He just told them to give the old man more natural foods, the more the better, so that it would be less likely to get into trouble. The trouble is that the old man really hates eating natural foods. Even if it is made by the best hotel outside, he can only eat 1 or 2 bites. The rest is all thrown to others to solve. Otherwise, he wouldn't be desperate and come to the game to find someone to become his apprentice. Although the dishes made by his master are completely better than those chefs in StarCraft. But he has not yet fully confirmed whether the dishes in the game can be reproduced in reality. Chapter 36 Preserved Egg and Lean Pork Porridge. My grandpa has no appetite. No matter how we persuade him, he just doesn't want to eat anything. He thinks what we cook is too unpalatable. Thinking about it, Shen-san couldn't help but speak out his heart. The doctor also said that there is no need to avoid food. On the contrary, the more food he eats, the better. However, as soon as he said it, his heart skipped a beat. Oh no. Why did he say doctor? Master won't ask him what a doctor is. He hurried to see his master, but saw that she was still doing the work at hand seriously, as if she didn't notice what he said. He was relieved immediately. Fortunately, the master didn't hear it just now. He has to be careful next time, otherwise if he accidentally says something from the real world, the master will ask, Is he going to say that the master is actually just a bunch of data? Yunxi didn't know what his apprentice was thinking, and thought to himself, the apprentice's grandfather doesn't want to eat. Is he relying on injections to maintain his life now? He hasn't eaten for a long time. If he eats suddenly, it will hurt his stomach. After thinking for a while, she glanced at Shen-san, who was washing vegetables. Shen-san, go cut the radishes first, cut them all into shreds. Shen-san looked at the radishes piled up like a small mountain. Have you cut all of them? Even if I ask you to cut them all, you can't cut them all today. She couldn't help laughing. You cut them first and practice your knife skills. When the shredded radishes are of uniform size and thickness, you can start the next step. He nodded, picked up the knife and was about to start, suddenly lowered his voice. Master, I use the ingredients of the restaurant to practice. Will the shopkeeper say anything about us? It doesn't matter if the shopkeeper scolds him, but it's not okay to scold the master. No problem, I have already talked to the shopkeeper about this in advance, and he agreed. He lowered his head, said no more, picked up the kitchen knife and started to work. I don't know how much the master paid to let him use the ingredients here unlimited times. He must learn as soon as possible to live up to the master's expectations. Time passed as he practiced knife skills repeatedly every day. And on this day, there were suddenly 3 more teenagers in the kitchen. Watching the master teaching them to cook the restaurant's signature dishes, Shen-san finally understood. The shopkeeper had mentioned before that the master should teach a few people to support the restaurant and give her 10 silver per person, but she refused. However, now in order to have enough ingredients to practice, the master is teaching people for free. Looking at the sunlight pouring down from the window and shining on her, the master, who smiled gently like a goddess, his mood was complicated. Sometimes, he really felt that these NPCs were like real people, especially his master, who is much better than people in the real world. As more and more adventurers poured into the town, gradually, many people also discovered the beauty of the restaurant. Yunxi could get more and more tips. Fortunately, at this time, the few people sent by the shopkeeper gradually got started and were able to help her. Instead, she had more free time than before, and occasionally had time to rest. While taking advantage of the break, she took the time to go to the clinic and bought all the books back. She read them repeatedly before going to bed at night, trying to brush up her medical skills and pharmaceutical skills. In addition, she emptied her wallet and bought all the books in other stores. However, some skills were not particularly important, so she threw them into the space first and planned to learn them when she had time. When Yunxi's medical skills and medicine making finally reached the intermediate level, Shen-san was finally able to cut the radish into thin strips of uniform size. She nodded with satisfaction. Your knife skills are almost perfect. From today on, you can try to cook. In the past few days, she didn't let him do anything except cutting radishes, but Shen-san was very patient and persevered. Maybe he will be able to make delicious dishes soon. To cook delicious dishes, you have to master the knife skills, heat and seasoning. Knife skills are actually the easiest to practice, but heat and seasoning require repeated practice to master them. The most important thing is that heat and seasoning actually depend on people's talents. Some people are born to do very well, while some people learn and learn, but their products are still very average. Let's make porridge first today, because it's for your grandpa. After all, Shen-san's grandpa hadn't eaten for many days, and she was afraid that if she made something heavy, he would hurt his stomach and kill him. Porridge is more suitable for the elderly and children. Shen-san looked at her movement seriously, and suddenly remembered the news he got in the morning. By the way, Master, did you want to find out more about the curse on the village? Do you have any news? I have a friend whose village is also cursed. It is said that a cave was found near their town. There is a level 30 boss in it. It seems that he is the one who cursed the village. As long as that person is defeated, the curse on the village can be lifted. Shen-san almost recited the news she had memorized. Level 30 boss, she repeated it subconsciously. Shen-san's heart jumped suddenly, and he thought to himself, oh no, I was just memorizing it. I should have thought about it before speaking. I mean, the person who cast the curse is a very powerful person, so you'd better not go. After I practice martial arts more, I will help you beat him. Yunxi came back to her senses, looked at him subtly, and used the detection spell. Chen-san, LV, 23, she is already level 35. Shen-san, a level 23, actually wants to help her, a level 35, to fight a level 30 boss. Are you kidding? In fact, It is not surprising that Shen-san would think so. Among the people who are currently playing Ancient, his combat power level can already rank in the top 10, and no player has learned the skill of detection, so except after the fight, they have no idea how high the NPC's level is. In addition, Yunxi cooks in the restaurant all day, so he thought she was a weak chicken. Yunxi did not explain, just nodded casually, and continued to teach him how to make porridge. Today we are making preserved egg and lean meat porridge. Mash the preserved egg, cut the lean meat into slices, throw them into the soup bag, tie it up, and then throw it into the porridge to boil out the flavor. After the flavor is finally boiled out, the soup bag can be thrown away. She taught him every step clearly step by step. Master, can't preserved eggs and lean meat be eaten? Why should they be thrown away? Also, if there are no preserved eggs, can other ingredients be used instead? Of course you can eat it. But didn't you say that your grandfather hasn't eaten for a long time? People who haven't eaten for a long time suddenly start to eat. It's best to eat some liquid food. Don't add other things first. Remember to make the porridge thinner. It will be better. People with weak bodies should be taken care of slowly. Don't expect to reach heaven in one step. Shen-san. Thinking of his grandfather who was jumping around and refusing to eat, he always felt that something was wrong, but he couldn't tell for a while. As for the absence of preserved eggs, of course other ingredients can be used, such as green vegetable and lean meat porridge, yam and pork liver porridge, shrimp porridge, etc. She pointed to the soup dumplings in the pot. At the beginning, take out all the other ingredients and throw them away, and eat the white porridge for 3 to 5 days. When your grandfather is in better health, these ingredients do not need to be added to the soup dumplings, just add them directly to the porridge and cook them together. Different ingredients need to be put in for different times. Shen-san did not expect that there were so many details, and he was very glad that he found a master. If he figured it out by himself, he would definitely find it difficult to notice many places. He learned very carefully, and then he made it several times himself, but it was a pity that he was still a little bit off at the beginning. After the master and apprentice ate preserved egg and lean meat porridge for 5 consecutive days, Shen-san finally made porridge that barely satisfied Yunxi. Not bad, you have almost mastered this dish. You can go home and practice more, and then you can make it for your grandfather. Chapter 37 Looking for Someone in the Mountains. StarCraft, capital Star, Fu family. After Fu Jinheng came out of the game cabin, he went into the kitchen. Fu Jingxi, who was sitting on the sofa and watching the live broadcast, was so shocked that he couldn't even hold the kettle in his hand firmly, and it fell to the ground with a snap. He didn't care about the kettle that fell on the ground, and rubbed his eyes with his fists. Third brother, you actually want to go into the kitchen? He didn't say it. The kitchen was built, and no one had ever gone in since they hired a chef to cook for Grandpa. He really felt that the kitchen was built, except for being a hindrance, and there was no use. He put on his slippers and walked tentatively to the kitchen door. Fu Jinheng didn't notice that his younger brother was shocked and was looking around in the kitchen. Thanks to the housework robot, although no one used the kitchen, it was still very clean, and he didn't need to clean it up like in the game, but the shortcomings were also obvious. Except for the pots and pans that were barely ready, there were no other seasonings or ingredients in the kitchen. He immediately opened the Star Network, turned to the page of ingredients and seasonings, and prepared to place an order. Third brother, what are you doing here? Fu Jingxi came up curiously. Third brother's page was set to privacy, so he couldn't see it, but he could see that third brother was pointing in the air, and he knew at a glance that he was surfing the Star Network. I'm buying vegetables, and I'll cook something for you later, Fu Jinheng replied casually, but he didn't notice that his younger brother's face suddenly turned blue, and he was still immersed in his own thoughts. Fu Jingxi behind him had already left quietly. Natural food is expensive and unpalatable, it's simply not something for humans to eat. If it weren't for saving his life, he dared to say that no one in the entire galaxy would be willing to eat this stuff. Even those trained chefs can make people collapse, not to mention the third brother who has never cooked before. Could he be trying to kill for money? At the same time, Fu Jinheng was also sending messages to people. Why don't I see any preserved eggs for sale on the Star Network? Hasn't the Academy of Sciences put it on the shelves yet? Wait a minute. What kind of creature is the preserved egg? I've never heard of this ingredient. After wiping the surface clean, it looks about the same size as an egg, but the shell is gray-green. After peeling the shell, the inside is black and yellow. There is no such thing. I told the search team what you want. They will try their best to find it for you. Fu Jinheng became worried. He looked through other ingredients and decided to change the preserved eggs to green vegetables. Star Express is very fast. About a quarter of an hour later, he received the package. After putting the various seasonings in the right place, he picked up the lean meat and started to process it. Fortunately, when he first followed the master, he was processing ingredients every day, and he was already familiar with this aspect. At this time, he was very serious and did not notice that there were two sneaky people outside, looking at him. "Grandpa, I just asked my third brother. This is specially made for you. You should eat it obediently later. Anyway, it is specially made for Grandpa. Grandpa feels this heavy love and will definitely finish it. Stinky boy. Keep it for yourself. Lao Wang next door has asked me to go fishing. You stay at home and look after your third brother. I'm leaving first." The old man waved his hands in resistance, wanting to take the opportunity to slip away. However, he was no longer able to use his mental power, so he was naturally stopped by his grandson. "Grandpa, how could you do this? I heard that the third brother went to learn how to cook for you. How hard it is. How could I let Grandpa slip away? If Grandpa slips away, wouldn't he have to eat all the food made by the third brother?" When the two were entangled, they suddenly smelled a faint fragrance. The two were immediately refreshed. "What's the smell?" At this moment, Fu Jinheng came out with bowls and chopsticks and put them on the dining table. "Wait a minute, it will be ready soon. Is it the dish you made?" The grandfather and grandson were both shocked, watching Fu Jinheng return to the kitchen. "Ahem. Zai, you are right. This is your third brother's filial piety to me, so don't eat it." Grandpa Fu reacted quickly, coughed twice, and smiled and pushed the little grandson away. No, however, this time it was Fu Yunxi who disagreed. The porridge smelled too good. Maybe the third brother had learned some real skills this time. Not long after the two of them quarreled, Fu Jinheng came over with a big pot and scooped a bowl for everyone. Several people sat at the table, smelling the aroma wafting from the bowl. They took a sip tentatively, and then their eyes lit up. Regardless of the heat, the two of them drank it up. Fu Jinheng silently finished a bowl of porridge he made, and suddenly felt a warm feeling in his abdomen. It's so comfortable. It's a pity that the taste is still a little worse than that made by the master. What is this? Make it again tomorrow. The old man ate such delicious food for the first time. He was very satisfied at this moment and rarely took the initiative to make a request. "Okay, Grandpa." Fu Jinheng nodded and patted his younger brother next to him. "Little brother, remember to let everyone under your eldest brother be equipped with an ancient game cabin. The porridge I made this time was learned in the game." "What?" The lazy grandfather and grandson sat up straight and stared at him closely. "That's right. I learned cooking skills from a master in the game. The porridge I made this time was taught by her. My master is an intermediate chef. If you want to learn, you can also enter the game, haha. Then I will find a senior chef to be my master." Before he finished speaking, Fu Jinxi jumped up with joy. "Third brother, don't be afraid, I will make delicious food for you to try." At that time, he would make a little dish and let the third brother have a taste. I don't believe that the third brother will not be greedy. When the time comes, the third brother will come to ask him to cook, and he will take the opportunity to get what he wants most. Fu Jinheng looked at his younger brother's silly smile and guessed his thoughts. However, when he thought of the real NPCs in the game, a subtle smile suddenly appeared on the corner of his mouth. That's it. Young people. They always have to hit the wall before they can grow up. Don't think that he chose a master just to find someone to be his apprentice. In fact, he has been observing for a long time. His master has a gentle personality. Among the people that novices can get in touch with. His cooking skills are also very superb, and his character is also quite good. But if his younger brother just finds someone to be his apprentice, Lu Yunxi took advantage of her own vacation and gave her apprentice a day off and ran up the mountain. Since Shensan's friend was found near the town, if she wanted to lift the curse of the mushroom village, she might have to look for it on the mountainside. In order to avoid missing any mountain that she didn't search, she also spent money to buy a map, and she ticked the mountains she had been to on the map. After spending most of the day and going around 3 mountains, she finally found a cave with people. However, looking at the dying girl tied up with ropes in the cave, she was deeply skeptical. Could this person really curse the mushroom village? Chapter 38 The Girl in the Mountain. Girl? Are you okay? Yunxi approached her tentatively and found that the girl's clothes were a little torn and there were many cuts on her body. She looked a little embarrassed, but it was still possible to see that it was a very beautiful face. A beautiful girl was tied up in a cave. It was obvious that this was not a good thing. The girl frowned and slowly opened her eyes. When she saw her, she seemed to be startled. She shrank back suddenly, and her voice was like the cry of an oriole. "Who are you?" "I'm a herbalist on the mountain. When I passed by here, I saw you tied to the ground." Yunxi smiled gently and softened her voice. "What's wrong with you, girl? Why are you here alone? Do you need me to help you untie the rope?" The girl frowned, as if she was recalling something, and then her face suddenly turned pale, and she shook her head quickly. "You'd better leave here quickly. I originally lived at the foot of the mountain. One day when I went up the mountain to chop wood, I suddenly met the bandits on the mountain and was caught by the bandits." "Bandits?" Yunxi raised her eyebrows slightly. She had been to the mountain so many times, but she had never seen any bandits on the mountain. Not to mention bandits, it was rare to see a human figure on the mountain full of jackals, tigers and leopards. "Yes, they are in this cave, but they sleep until the afternoon every day. It's already afternoon now. You should hurry down the mountain. Shall I take you down with me? It seems that this bandit is quite powerful. Dare to use this cave as his base. Now that the girl is here, it's not convenient to fight." However, it was not the girl who spoke this time. The people in the depths of the cave seemed to wake up, and there was a loud laugh like thunder rolling inside. "Ho ha ho ha. Little girl, don't go down either, just stay here with us." Along with the voices, a burst of heavy footsteps came. "Brother, there just happened to be a little girl. Hand her over to me later." "No, what should I do?" "Let's tie up this little girl first, and then go down and catch a few more people. Otherwise, there won't be enough for the three of us brothers." The people inside started to discuss directly, as if they were dividing pork, and Yunxi frowned when she heard it. She counted the sufficient arrows in the space and felt relieved. 3 people. If the fight starts later, she won't be able to care about the girl next to her. Thinking of this, she saw several bandits coming out, and she immediately dodged and walked down, while glancing at them. "How can you catch me? You are just 3 guys who dare to hide in the mountains. I see you don't even dare to go down the mountain. You must be very weak, right?" Seeing the 3 bandits following up with ferocious faces, she smiled and breathed a sigh of relief. It seems that there is no need to worry about the danger of the hostages for the time being. After Yunxi led the 3 people to a farther place, she immediately took out her bow and arrow from the space. She instantly released 3 arrows, hitting the legs of the 3 people respectively. Lu family archery is indeed interesting. After she learned the intermediate level, she can shoot 3 arrows at the same time, and it just so happens that there are 3 bandits. "Ah! You stinky bitches looking for death." The bandit boss saw the arrow on his leg. His eyes were scarlet, and he stared at her fiercely. He roared, tightly grasped the half arrow sticking out, and pulled out the arrow from his leg with force, and threw it at himself. Yunxi. As expected, I still need to study hard. If the bandits had some culture, they would not do such stupid things. The other 2 followed suit and also grasped the arrow sticks and tried to pull them out. She silently glanced at the other 2 bandits and kindly advised, "I advise you not to pull out the arrows." "How? Who do you think you are? You said you won't pull it out, so we won't pull it out." The second bandit looked at her provocatively, then pulled out the arrow and threw it at her. "I want to pull it out. What can you do to me?" The third bandit also moved quickly. Yunxi's expression was subtle. She looked at the 3 people as if she was looking at a disobedient child. She didn't even move her feet, and easily dodged the arrows they threw. Sure enough, not long after, the 3 fell to the ground due to excessive blood loss and physical exhaustion. She shook her head and sighed helplessly. When she walked past the 3 people, she said in a teaching tone, "When you are hit by an arrow, if you are not on the clinic, it is best not to pull out the arrow, because excessive blood loss will be more dangerous. Do you understand?" The 3 bandits' eyes were about to pop out, as if they were looking at their mortal enemies. When she passed by, they spit out blood in hatred. Yunxi seemed not to see that they were spitting blood, and walked briskly towards the cave. "Girl, where are those bandits?" The girl was surprised to see her appear, and looked around with uneasy eyes. "When they were chasing me just now, they accidentally fell into a trap. Now they can't get out. We are safe." She smiled and comforted the girl. After the rope on the girl was untied, her body seemed a little stiff, and it was only after moving for a while that it was slightly relieved. The two walked down the mountain, and the girl followed behind her, looking cautious. Suddenly, a gust of wind blew, and Yunxi jumped up and dodged the fatal blow. Looking at the dagger stuck in the tree, Yunxi still had a smile on his lips. The girl was startled, then narrowed her eyes, with displeasure in her eyes, and her tone was no longer delicate, but became cold. When did you find out? Are you the one who cursed our village? She looked at the expensive silk dress on the girl, did not answer her, and asked instead. Oh? So that's why you came to me? The girl smiled charmingly, gently lifted the hair beside her ear, and seemed to be completely different from the innocent person just now. Yes, I did it. But what can you do to me? Why did you do this? How did our village provoke you? Yunxi clenched a bow and arrow in his hand, his face turned slightly cold. The girl crossed her arms, snorted coldly with a heavy look in her eyes. What's it to you? I just don't like them. Okay, Yunxi raised the bow and arrow. Hurry up and get rid of the curse of our village, otherwise don't blame me for taking action. The girl raised her eyelids and smiled disdainfully. She turned around slowly, looked at the dazzling sunlight above her head, closed her eyes and cried, my parents are gone, what's the point of me staying here alone? Just kill me, but you can't blame his fiancée for this, right? You should blame the man. It was the scholar who agreed to your family's marriage and then broke the contract, wasn't it? Chapter 39 Grasshoppers on a Rope. Yunxi looked at the girl who was as hopeless as death. Regardless of her resistance, she picked her up and walked down the mountain. Yaman. The police officer glanced at the three men in the cell, and handed the silver in his hand to her with a smile. Thank you for helping to catch these bandits, so that the residents of the town can go up the mountain with peace of mind. This is your reward for catching them. Looking at the 15 silver in his hand, Yunxi also smiled. Found a good way to get rich. Yunxi originally just subconsciously sent the three bandits to the Yaman, who knew that there would be an unexpected surprise and a bonus. Young man, don't you know? Hearing her words, the police officer was stunned for a moment, and then smiled and introduced to her, look at these wanted posters posted behind me. There are rewards for catching these thieves and bandits. She leaned over, read the wanted posters carefully, and memorize them all. If you run into them one day when you go out, you can catch them and make a fortune. This is much more than what she earned from working hard as a cook in a restaurant. After writing down the words and portraits on the wanted poster, Yunxi was about to say goodbye and leave, but suddenly saw a group of officials escorting a person. She paused slightly. Who is that? Isn't that the official who came to the village and took Qian away before? Why was he tied up by other officials and now he looks like a prisoner? The official in charge of reception looked back and suddenly realized, young man, do you know that person? He used to work in the government office like us, but he dared to accept bribes privately and secretly let those criminals go, so he was arrested. Yunxi paused, remembering that he stayed in the village chief's house for so long at that time, and didn't let the villagers in. Later, he said he would take Qian away, but Qian inexplicably appeared in the village. She suddenly figured out everything. She took a deep look at the former official with a depressed face and turned away. Miss Lu, I was wrong this time. I plan to go to the village in the south in a while, help everyone with some work, and apologize to everyone in person. The girl was in a better mood when she saw her come back. She walked up and bowed deeply. Seeing the guilt in her eyes, Yunxi just shook her head. Your curse hurt those who can't stay in the village and can't meet. It doesn't hurt me. You shouldn't apologize to me. The girl Yazai shook her head. No, it's my fault, and I have to thank you for waking me up, so that I didn't cause more harm. Yazai pondered for a while and said, I don't know how to express my gratitude. I heard that you went to the martial arts hall to learn martial arts before. I have a skill here. I will teach it to you. How about it? Skill. Isn't Lu family archery also a skill? When shooting arrows, you can also shoot 3 arrows at the same time. I already have a skill, keep it for yourself. She had a headache when she thought that the thick Lu family archery had not been completely learned yet. How could she find the time to learn another technique? Yazai suddenly laughed. Are you talking about the archery you use? Although it's not bad, that technique is really too ordinary. Without waiting for Yunxi to refute, she directly took action, stretched out her hand towards the sky, and released a yellow flash. The flash shot rapidly into the air and exploded in the air, like fireworks, looking beautiful and gorgeous. Yunxi, who had never taken this matter to heart, was stunned. He looked up at the fireworks that had disappeared above his head, and then looked at the girl in front of him. Why doesn't my technique have such an effect? Although the Liu family archery technique can instantly fire 3 arrows, it is not so gorgeous and awesome. On the contrary, it looks very simple. Kung Fu is like other items. It is divided into 6 levels: white, green, blue, purple, orange, and gold. The most common Kung Fu is the white level. The white Kung Fu is similar to ordinary boxing and kicking. It is useless. Starting from the green level, there will be some more powerful skills. The Kung Fu in your hands should be green, but you haven't learned it yet. After you have learned it all, the arrows you shoot will also shine, as I demonstrated and explained. Lu Yunxi was at a loss at first, but then her eyes became brighter and brighter as she listened. This set of statements sounds very credible. It's good to be able to get blue and purple Kung Fu. Orange and gold quality are basically legendary. You can go to big cities in the future. There are academies in big cities. There will be many Kung Fu and you can learn a lot of things. As I stretched out her hand, and a burst of white light overflowed from her fingertips. The Kung Fu I'm going to teach you is purple. It is a Kung Fu used to heal after being injured. It is very rare, Lu Yunxi. Isn't this just blood recovery? Can she, who plays archery, learn the skills of an Annie? Yaxi told her with her actions that she could. After learning from Yaxi for a week, she learned this blood recovering technique, which can not only heal herself, but also heal others, and even heal multiple people at the same time. No wonder this technique is purple. It is indeed much better than the archery technique passed down in her family. After teaching her the technique, Yaxi said goodbye to her, left the town, and went to the village in the south to atone for his sins. Lu Yunxi also quickly found the wife of the village chief and told her about the solution to the curse. The wife of the village chief was surprised and happy. She covered her face with tears in her eyes. Great! I knew you were the best in the village. You even solved this problem. My son can come back to the village in the future. She did what she said. She immediately quit her job, told other people who came out of the village about it, and then took her son back to the village by car without stopping. Only Lu Yunxi was left holding a bunch of keys, standing at the door of the house with a confused look on her face. No. Even if they want to leave, at least leave someone here to watch over the house. Capital Star, the #1 game company. A group of people who were originally happy because of the popularity of Ancient suddenly became serious. Many people walked back and forth in the company, looking very anxious. What's going on? How could this happen? The president was pacing around in his office. His hair was messed up, but he didn't care at all. President, we have gone to investigate urgently, and we will know what happened later. The assistant wiped the sweat from his forehead, and his heart was also anxious. If the game crashes this time, they will all be finished. You know, the military has already placed an order, requiring each of them to be equipped with a holographic game cabin. And in the Interstellar, basically everyone has one, and those who can't afford a holographic cabin have also bought a holographic helmet. Ancient is so popular, if there is really a problem with the intelligent brain, it can't be solved by just saying sorry. Originally, it was just a routine to ask someone to check it out. Who knew that such a problem would be found? Several people didn't know how long they waited, and finally waited for the engineer to show up. President, this is bad. This intelligent computer seems to have developed its own consciousness, so we have no way to change the data in the game. The engineer lowered his voice, and cold sweat kept pouring down. The president gritted his teeth and pounded his fist on the table. He lowered his head and pondered. After a long while, he suddenly raised his head and looked at his most core subordinates. What about the orders we received before? After all the game cabins are shipped, we will stop production, divide the money we earned before, and dissolve the company. We are all grasshoppers on the same rope. Everyone must keep their mouths shut. Once such a big problem is discovered outside, we will be finished. After hearing this, the rest of the people felt nervous and began to act. While they were nervous, people from other game companies vaguely heard a strange news. The people from the first game company made money and were unwilling to continue working. They went out to play. They were shocked, and then they began to frantically develop a large-scale holographic online game of Ancient simulation. They couldn't let the people from the first game company make all the money. Everyone was busy. No one noticed that the first game company gradually became empty after just 1 month, with only a group of robots still working inside. Chapter 40. It's really useful. After the village head's wife and Yasi left, Lu Yunxi continued to work and teach apprentices during the day, and go to the mountains to fight monsters at night. With her crazy efforts, it didn't take long for the fierce and difficult animals on the mountain to become easier to fight, but the experience points she could gain also became very small. At this time, Yunxi had just passed level 40. "Master, what are you doing?" Shen-san was a little puzzled as he watched Yunxi clean the duck eggs one by one and put them into the jar. "Is putting the eggs in the jar the pickling method you mentioned before?" Yunxi nodded. "Yes, I am pickling salted duck eggs now. After a month, I can take them out and eat them. You can try them then. I don't like the egg whites very much, but the taste of the salted egg yolk is really wonderful." Shen-san suddenly thought of the preserved eggs that could never be found in the interstellar space, and was a little suspicious. "Master, are preserved eggs also made from duck eggs?" "Yes. If you want to learn, we will make a jar of preserved eggs later." The apprentice followed her to learn cooking. Not only was he attentive, but he was also talented. Now he has learned most of it, so she no longer stares at him every day. Instead, she occasionally makes some salted duck eggs, which are fun and edible. Half a month later, Yunxi looked at the simplest clear soup noodles made by Shen-san. The noodles were evenly arranged in the bowl. The soup in the bowl was clear and delicious. A little chopped green onion was sprinkled on top, and a fragrance wafted out. She nodded secretly and tasted it. The taste was smooth, delicious, and it was green. She smiled and nodded, with satisfaction on her face, and ate all the clear soup noodles. "Well done, you have learned all the dishes I taught you. The rest you need to practice to improve your cooking skills." Shen-san opened his system and saw that the apprenticeship task on the task interface was completed, and he couldn't help but secretly breathe a sigh of relief. He has done this apprenticeship task many times, and failed every time. Even he thought it would take decades to complete. Unexpectedly, he succeeded this time. Thinking of his younger brother who is now in dire straits, the corners of his mouth can't help but rise. "Chen-san, you can cook for your grandfather by yourself in the future." Yunxi's face suddenly became serious. "I still have things to do, so I will leave the town in a few days." He was suddenly startled and looked at her in disbelief. Although the NPCs in ancient times are very intelligent, the general life NPCs will not run around everywhere, and most of them are fixed in one place. You will have to rely on yourself in the future. Work hard. We will meet again if we are destined to." She patted her apprentice's shoulder and went to say goodbye to the others. When Shen-san came to his senses, he found that the master had left the town. "Third brother, isn't it said that your master is very strict? But I see you cooking at home these days, and I haven't seen you enter the game to follow her." Yunxi looked at the third brother who was thinking about something in the kitchen, and he was a little envious and jealous. He was stuck on the apprenticeship. The master he carefully selected was also a senior chef. It was rare for him to appear in a small town, but this person's apprenticeship task was really too difficult. Anyway, he was so exhausted that he didn't even want to go into the game to be tortured. Fu Jinheng rolled his eyes at him speechlessly. "I have already graduated, and my master is going to travel outside, so naturally there is no need to go into the game every day to follow the master." After the master said that he could graduate, he temporarily bid farewell to the game and was busy cooking for his grandfather in reality. Because the ingredients in the real world are not the same as those in the game, he also has to experiment. If he does it well, he will enter it into the robot's program and let the robot do it in the future. Yunxi looked at his third brother's smooth movements and became more and more envious. Why didn't he have such good luck to easily meet a chef who is willing to teach with all his heart? If Fu Jinheng knew what he was thinking, he would definitely object. "What do you mean he easily met a master?" In order to let the master teach him to learn cooking, he spent so much effort. Under Fu Jinheng's research, the Fu family's dishes are different every day, and when the Fu family has no important things, they will try to rush home for dinner. In this way, more than half a month has passed. The family doctor of the Fu family came with instruments to examine Mr. Fu. The machine needs some time, and the Fu family members waited anxiously, constantly pacing around. There was a ding sound. Everyone's eyes quickly turned over and stared at the doctor closely. Although the doctor has always been calm, he was stared at by so many people at this time, and he was sweating profusely. He looked at the value on the detector carefully, and was suddenly shocked. He whispered in disbelief, "It actually decreased." The Fu family members came over together, their eyes full of expectations. "Doctor, is that what has decreased?" The doctor did not disappoint everyone's expectations, nodded and smiled. "Yes, it's just what you think. The degree of the old man's mental riot has decreased." Although it has only decreased a little, it is also a decrease. He has been a doctor for so many years, and this is the first time he has seen someone reduce the degree of mental riot. Old man, what have you eaten recently? What kind of exercise have you done? How did the old man do it? So far, once the mental riot begins, there is no other way except waiting to die. Doctor, didn't you say that? Eating more natural food can reduce mental turmoil. The Fu family looked at him in confusion. The doctor was shocked. He did say that, but the effect of pure natural food is so small that it is almost invisible. It must be processed and cooked before the effect is more obvious. But processed dishes are not only so unpalatable that it makes people collapse, but also very expensive. Most people can't afford it. He couldn't help but admire the old man. Old man, you are still as good as ever. He can even tolerate such unpalatable things. No wonder he can become a general. Old man Fu was a little confused, but he still smiled and nodded. Anyway, it was a compliment to him, so he continued. The other people in the Fu family were surprised and happy, and they talked about it after the doctor left. Thanks to my third brother's quick response, we have all been equipped with a holographic cabin. The eldest brother of the Fu family works in the military and has become a major general. Thinking that his soldiers will soon have a new training ground, he can't help but feel happy. I will take them in for training tomorrow. Brother, just take them in for training. Fu Jinheng raised the sofa with one hand. Not only can we learn the knowledge in the game, but also our real bodies will get better when we exercise in the game. The Fu family members were stunned when they saw him raise the sofa. Now they were pleasantly surprised to hear him say this and decided to enter the game to have a look. Except for their own mother. Mrs. Fu hesitated. My body is healthy enough. I don't need to go to the battlefield, and I don't need to exercise so hard. Mom, the scenery in many places in the game is very unique. Don't you like to travel around with Dad? Fu Jinheng advised. With so many benefits from the game, he hopes that everyone in the family can enter the game to experience it and don't miss such a good thing. Chapter 41 Just Me. In Jinzhou City, people and cars are constantly flowing. Patrolling soldiers often walk on the streets with serious faces, and pedestrians all have comfortable smiles on their faces. Yunxi pushed open the carved window, and immediately a fragrance drifted in. She leaned over to take a look, and it was indeed coming from the breakfast shop opposite. She went to the opposite side to buy 2 meat buns, and she ate while walking along the way. When she finished eating, she happened to arrive at the city gate. Miss Lu, the farmer who was waiting at the city gate, saw her and immediately smiled. He took all the firewood on the cart and handed it to her in bundles. She checked the firewood delivered, all of which were dried and chopped, and neatly stacked. She couldn't help but nod with satisfaction. Here, this is the money for firewood today. The farmer took the money happily, pushed the cart happily and sat on it. Yunxi carried the firewood on her back and walked to the wealthy families she usually visited. People passing by greeted her. Miss Lu, are you out selling firewood again? She smiled and nodded. Yes, Aunt Wang. Where are you going? Aunt Wang looked around furtively and said mysteriously, Miss Lu, my son will take the exam with the young master tomorrow. I heard that if you can enter that academy to study, you can at least become an official in the future. Don't you have a scholar brother? Let him go with you. My brother is going out to study with his classmates. What is the academy you are talking about? She was moved and put down the firewood on her back, looking curious. You don't know yet, right? This academy is different from those private schools outside. This is the most powerful place in our country. After you enter, you can study literature or martial arts, and you will at least be a 6th rank official after you graduate. Aunt Wang showed her a 6 with joy in her eyes, as if her son had already graduated. I'm going to buy some delicious food for my son. Madam said that if my son becomes an official in the future, she will let me go out to live with my son. Aunt Wang, you are so lucky. Soon you will be the mother of an official. It's so impressive. Yunxi widened her eyes, her face full of envy, and then changed the subject. My brother still has a lot to learn. I wonder when he can make me impressive too. Aunt Wang saw her envious look on her face and felt refreshed. Hey, don't put too much pressure on your brother. Many people took the exam many times before they passed. I heard that the exam will be held in the center of Jinzhou City at 3:30 a.m. tomorrow. If you can make it, let your brother come back quickly. After Yunxi got the news, she flattered Aunt Wang a few more times, making her feel flattered, and then she said goodbye to her. She carried firewood on her back and sneaked into the back alley of the wealthy family again to continue to inquire. On the way, She also ran into the young man. He looked at her with disdain, raised his head and walked away proudly. Lu Yunxi. Speaking of the young man, we have to talk about when she first came to Jianzhou. In order to make it easier to get information, she did not look for a job in a place like a restaurant, but turned to the government office to see if there was any recommendation. At that time, there were only 2 jobs posted. One was to sell firewood, and the other was a dung man who carried dung. The Yamen officer strongly recommended the job of a dung man. Girl, neither a dung man nor a porter is suitable for you, because both require a lot of strength, but if you have to choose, I still recommend you to be a dung man. Both are laborious jobs. A porter can only earn 10 to 20 copper coins a day, but a dung man can earn about 50-60 copper coins a day, much more than a porter. Before she could reply, a man who had been listening silently beside her suddenly jumped out and snatched the dung man's order. Humph! You are a girl, you should go back to cook. How can you do the job of a dung man? After that, he kept rolling his eyes at her, trying to suppress her, the opponent who was competing for the job. She was speechless at the time. These copper coins were not worth her snatching the job of a dung man. In the end, she stopped the officer who wanted to help her, gave him some dried meat to thank him, and got the job of a porter. After that, every time she went out and met the dung man, this guy would always be sarcastic. But she was too lazy to care, and didn't want to argue with him. It was true that the dung man was extremely smelly within a radius of 100 meters, and the lingering smell was still there within a radius of 500 meters. If she argued with him, she would have to endure the stench, which was really hurting the enemy 1,000 times and hurting herself 800 times. Lu Yunxi held her breath and hurried out of this place. The next day, at 1 o'clock in the morning, Lu Yunxi came to the open space in the center of Jianzhou early. At this time, the open space was divided into 2 sides. One side was full of tables, and the other side was a large arena. She thought for a while, and when she was considering signing up for the martial arts test, she suddenly saw the staff of the academy come out and posted a list. She was moved, and walked forward quickly and looked at the contents of the list. It turned out that the academy was recruiting people. 3 assistant teachers in the academy, responsible for organizing classroom content, publishing and collecting homework, and helping teachers maintain classroom order. 10 sparring partners, responsible for sparring with students from the martial arts academy. The academy recruited many people, from teachers to sweepers, and they were all short of people. In the end, Lu Yunxi chose the position of librarian. Fortunately, although the literary academy and the martial arts academy are separate, their libraries are combined into one. According to the information she inquired about, if you really want to pursue the highest martial arts, most people will go outside to find a sect. There is very little information about the sect, and only a few people have heard of it. No one knows where it is and how to join it. However, one thing is certain, all those who have been admitted to the academy cannot join the sect. So she was so hesitant when she was going to take the martial arts test before. Now if she can enter the academy as a staff member, when she leaves, she doesn't have to worry about not being able to enter the sect. And she can also take the opportunity to go to the academy to inquire about it and see the secret manuals of the martial arts in the academy. Lu Yunxi was soon hired successfully, and the staff asked her to pack up and come back in the afternoon. She hurried to the city gate, explained the situation to the woodcutter, and then went to the government office to hand over her previous job. Coincidentally, the young man happened to be in the government office. "Miss Lu, is there anything wrong?" the officer greeted with a smile. "You don't want to steal my job, do you? I tell you, don't even think about it." The young man looked alert. She twitched her eyes. "Officer, I just found a job in the academy, and I came here specifically to resign. I won't be a porter anymore." The officer was shocked at first, and then laughed and said, "Congratulations, Miss Lu. Your life will get better and better in the future." As he said that, he registered her and put up the porter job again. But the young man next to her looked at her in disbelief. "Impossible. Just you. How is this possible? Here he comes again." This young man always comes up to provoke her for everything. She is so annoyed. As Lu Yunxi walked quickly past, she raised her eyebrows. Instead of ignoring him as before, she slightly raised her head and said, "That's right, it's me. Just be a good young husband, and I will have 10 silver coins a month in the future." There's no use in your envy. Ignoring the hateful eyes behind her, she skipped away. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 42 Ex-Fiancé. Life in the academy is very peaceful. During the day, Yunxi only needs to register when someone borrows a book, and she can read books at any other time. However, nothing is perfect. The secret books of martial arts in the academy are like this. They are all white and green quality. To be honest, this quality is really a bit lame. Because your Lu family archery is also green quality. After copying all these secret books and throwing them into the space, she began to flip through other idle books. Miss Lu, a beautiful woman, walked in, wearing a light pink butterfly pattern double-breasted skirt. The hairpin on her head did not shake at all, and a gentle smile appeared on her bright face. I'm here to return the book. Yunxi's originally somewhat bored mood suddenly became brighter. Seeing a beautiful woman is really soothing. The girl in front of her is surnamed Gu. It is said that she comes from a big family in the capital. Not only is she beautiful, but she also loves reading very much. She has come here many times. She took the book with a smile, wrote returned on the original registration, and casually said, Miss Gu, do you need to borrow any other books? The dignified and virtuous woman frowned slightly, shook her head and refused. No, I have accepted a mission these days and have to go out of the courtyard. I am afraid it will take a long time to come back. Be careful on the road. Yunxi looked up at her in surprise, and then smiled and said goodbye. Watching the graceful back of the beautiful woman, she felt that her whole mood had improved. However, not long after, another familiar person came over. Yunxi frowned. It was him again. This person who appeared in front of her almost every day. Miss Lu, the man's voice, which was deliberately suppressed to be gentle, not only sounded unpleasant, but also made people feel a little goosebumps. Yunxi resisted the urge to tremble, rubbed her arms, and then regained her expressionless face. You're here? Are you returning the book? The man had a pair of peach blossom eyes, a gentle smile on the corner of his lips, and a fan in his hand, looking very romantic. However, she had seen countless students in the library of the academy, and there were many students who were more romantic and free and easy than him. On the contrary, this man looked a little greasy because his hands were too deliberate. Most people can't see it, but she was a person who had been poisoned by countless TV dramas in her previous life. Yes, Miss Lu is very beautiful today. Her skin is as white as cream, her face is. This man smiled gently and was ready to start today's rainbow fart. But Yunxi interrupted him unceremoniously. Enough. Mr. Luo. Don't you know that it is very impolite to judge a girl casually? Every time this man said something very frivolous, the more he listened, the angrier he got. It's true that if a woman in ancient times was said to like this, she might have to marry him. It's really vicious. If he wasn't away every night and never alone during the day, she would have beaten him up long ago. The usually gentle man's smile froze slightly, and a haze flashed in his eyes. He put away the folding fan in his hand, looked around, and saw that they were the only two in the library. Suddenly, he lowered his voice. Miss Lu, I know that you ordinary people envy us students and want to be like us, to enter the academy to study, instead of just being a gatekeeper. Lu, gatekeeper. Yunxi narrowed his eyes. What do you mean? A lustful light flashed in Mr. Luo's eyes. He looked her up and down, and then said in her ear, tomorrow night at 10 o'clock, meet in the woods outside Jinzhou. I'll be waiting for you. Huh? No wonder I can't find anyone at night. It turns out that he has made an appointment to go to the grove. As long as you stay with me for 5 days, I will get you into the academy and make you a real student. Once you pass the assessment, even if you are a woman, you can become an official. He looked at her wantonly, and gently lifted her chin with his fan. If you don't come, then you'd better be careful. I am not someone that ordinary people can afford to offend. Your family. Are you willing to let them suffer for you? Looking at the back of the lunatic walking away, Yunxi twitched her eyes. It's really a brain dead and there is no cure. If she wants to enter the academy, can't she pass the exam by herself? She needs his help. She just didn't want to be a student in the academy, so she borrowed a job to get in. And this threat is also funny. How powerful is it? He didn't even know the situation of her family, but he rushed to threaten her. Yunxi suddenly raised the corners of his lips. Tomorrow night? Yes. She really should go, and she still has to educate the other party well, otherwise that idiot will never know how big this world is. Just as she broke the pen with a sneer, she suddenly heard a fluttering sound. She paused and looked up curiously. She saw a carrier pigeon flapping its wings, its small eyes turned cutely and cleverly, and flew around her several times, as if confirming something, and then stopped and used its beak to tidy up its feathers. Yunxi looked at the carrier pigeon curiously. In the holographic game, pigeons are used to send letters, but only the village chief, Yunxi, and her apprentice have their own contact information. I wonder who sent the letter to her? She guessed secretly while opening the letter. Miss Lu, I am Yunxi. If possible, please come out tonight. I'll wait for you at Jianzhou Tongfuan. Yunxi completely shredded the letter, feeling a little curious. What is so mysterious? That evening, after finishing work, she went to Tongfuan and found Yunxi. However, what was surprising was that not only Yunxi was there, but she also brought someone, whose appearance could not be seen. Looking at the face that was completely destroyed, almost unrecognizable, and the eyes without focus, Yunxi frowned. Who is this? Yunxi also glanced at the girl next to him and sighed deeply. It's a long story. She is actually the ex-fiancée of my ex-fiancé, Yunxi? She pondered this strange relationship in her heart and was a little confused. After feeding the disfigured girl dinner, Yunxi sent her to the room, and then found a deserted place with her and talked about what happened during this period. The thing is, the man Yunxi had found before was called Luoqi, who was from a village in the south of the town. Because Luoqi clearly said that he would marry her but broke the contract, Yunxi's family could not get back the money they had given him, and he died without money for medical treatment. After her parents died, Luoqi also said that she would be a concubine. Yunxi couldn't stand this grievance, and in order to get revenge, she cursed all the villages south of the town. Anyone who is cursed by this curse must defeat the field mouse before the age of 18, otherwise he must leave the village to save his life. After Yunxi talked with Yunxi some time ago, Yunxi finally realized that this matter was ultimately Luoqi's fault and had nothing to do with others, so he went to the village to apologize and help the villagers. Who knew that he actually discovered another protagonist in the story, Zhou, who was said to be married to Luoqi. Luoqi kept saying that he would marry Zhou and could not betray the engagement, but Zhou still stayed in the village. Her appearance was ruined, her eyes were blind, and all her family members were dead. Yunxi realized that something was wrong, so she quickly took Zhou to Jianzhou. Chapter 43. It's him. I didn't realize anything was wrong until I arrived at their village, Yunxi said with a gloomy face, hatred flashing in his eyes. Zhou's parents had an accident, Zhou was disfigured and blinded, my parents left, so many unfortunate things happened to us, and the only thing we have in common is that we were all engaged to Luoqi. So I suspect that maybe what happened to us is not a coincidence. Luoqi deliberately made us kill each other. Looking at Zhou's gloomy face, Yunxi frowned. He can't be so cruel. Her hand holding the cup trembled slightly. He deliberately hurt you, and that's not enough. He wants you to continue to kill each other. If Luoqi really did this, she would admire him. He didn't study hard at ordinary times, but he knows how to do such conspiracies. I can only assume the greatest malice against him now. Yunxi's eyes trembled slightly. Maybe I didn't understand him from the beginning. Yunxi went forward to hug her, patted her back gently, and comforted her pain. I know, everything is over. It's okay. After a while, Yunxi's emotions gradually stabilized. And Yunxi suddenly remembered the man who came to the library every day in the academy. If she remembered correctly, that man's name was Luoqi, wasn't it? She held her chin, her eyes flickered slightly. Is this a coincidence? Or is this Luoqi the one who harmed Yunxi and the girl? Thinking of him asking her to meet in the woods outside the city tomorrow, she suddenly raised a strange smile. What? There is a man named Luoqi in your academy. He also asked you to meet in the woods outside the city tomorrow night. Yunxi's surprised voice awakened Yunxi, who was in deep thought. She looked up suddenly. Oops. Accidentally, I said what was in my heart. Yunxi, don't get excited. This man may not be your husband, Yunxi hurriedly advised. No. I guess it's him. Yunxi felt something in her heart. She felt that the person Miss Lu was talking about was that person. Miss Lu, can I go see him tomorrow? She hesitated for a moment, but seeing Yunxi's eyes full of water, she couldn't bear to refuse. Okay. But you be careful, if he brings guards or something, it will be troublesome. Yunxi nodded and thanked her the next night. Yunxi sat in the room, feeling a little uneasy. so she had to find a piece of embroidery cloth to pass the time. Anyway, the embroidery can make a lot of money if it is sold. She can also wait for news from Yunxi. However, she had just embroidered a small flower when she heard a loud bang, and then the whole door fell down. What the hell? Which thief was so arrogant that he just broke through the door? She was startled and quickly dodged behind the bed, avoiding this wave of attacks. However, the door fell down, wood chips flew, and the dust on the ground still made her feel uncomfortable. Look, I said she wasn't here. The person outside walked in, and before he finished speaking, he heard a cough and was immediately stuck. Yunxi covered her mouth and nose, and tears came out of the corners of her eyes. She looked at the person outside with red eyes. The person outside was speechless for a moment. Both sides looked at each other, with some confusion in their eyes. It was only after she coughed twice that she came back to her senses, glanced around the large group of people crowded in her room, and finally looked at her acquaintance. Miss Gu, do you have something to do with me? It's quite strange. This beautiful woman didn't suddenly have a grudge against her, so she brought people to the door with murderous intent. Miss Gu seemed to see the confusion in her eyes, and her cheeks flushed slightly, and she seemed a little embarrassed. After a long while, she stammered, I'm sorry. I found the wrong person. Does Miss Lu live here? Yes, she blinked and pretended not to see Miss Gu's gesture to stop people. I have always lived here. If you want to come to see me, you can come anytime. The two of them exchanged pleasantries in the confused eyes of everyone. Finally, Miss Gu asked someone to fix the door of the room before leaving with a large group of people. A group of people walked with heavy steps. It was unknown how long they had walked, and the woman in the lead suddenly stopped. Is this the person you said? Brother Luo asked out. The people behind heard this unpleasant voice and hurriedly explained. Miss, we did receive news that the son-in-law goes to the library every day. I heard that Brother Luo really likes that woman. She is really the one who seduced Brother Luo. Miss, for safety's sake, you'd better scratch that person's face. Otherwise, what if she really comes in the future? The leading woman turned around and glared at the group of people following her, her voice unusually serious. Shut up. I believe in Miss Lu. If you hurt her in the name of doing good for me, don't follow me anymore. What's more, I also believe in Brother Luo. He is not the kind of person who will show mercy to everyone. After that, she turned around and left angrily. Everyone looked at her from behind, feeling dissatisfied and jealous, and only dared to mutter a few words. What are you so proud of? If she wasn't a member of the Gu family, with her fierce look, I thought Brother Qi would choose her as his fiancée. If she doesn't make a move, I'll deal with that ordinary person like Lu. She dared to seduce Brother Qi. Are you tired of living? After they all dispersed, Yunxi suddenly walked out of the dark, her face half covered in the shadows, and slowly curled her lips. So, Miss Gu is actually Luo Qi's fiancé? Just after returning to the room, before her butt was warm, she heard the sound of a carrier pigeon. Yunxi unfolded the rolled letter paper and carefully read Zai's letter. She found that her handwriting was flying and flamboyant, and she could see her joy just by looking at it. After carefully reading the contents of the letter again and again, she finally figured it out. It turned out that Luo Qi, who coerced and lured her to go out to meet, was really Zai and Zhou Xiao's ex-fiancé. Zai waited in the dark according to the time set by Luo Qi. As soon as Luo Qi came out, she recognized him immediately. When enemies meet, they are extremely jealous. Zai jumped out and knocked Luo Qi unconscious immediately. And she also cursed him. The curses, as long as Luo Qi wants to play with women and use women to get to the top in the future, he will become more and more stupid and his brain will become less and less useful. Then he brought Zhou Xiao over and asked Zhou Xiao if he wanted to beat him. Zhou Xiao actually beat Luo Qi up. It turns out that Zhou Xiao's blindness and disfigurement are really related to Luo Qi. After Luo Qi passed the imperial examination and returned to the village, many people wanted to give their daughters and granddaughters to him as concubines. Who knew that after he refused, he hinted to everyone that it was because Zhou Xiao couldn't tolerate others, so he didn't accept their daughters and granddaughters. Others felt that they had finally met a Yunxi, but Zhou Xiao ruined this ladder to heaven, so they hated her. Later, they even excluded their family. As a result, no one helped her parents when they were injured, and they died just like that. Later, she was even framed, causing her to be disfigured and blind. It is conceivable how much Zhou Xiao and Zai hated Luo Qi. Now that they could beat him up, they naturally did not hold back their strength. Chapter 44. 65 years old. What? You are 65 years old? Yunxi was shocked and looked at Yazai in front of her in disbelief. Josiah was also surprised. Yazai crossed her legs and looked back at the two of them speechlessly. What are you two doing? Is 65 years old strange? The point should be the curse I put on Luoqi. I tell you, from now on, Luoqi must treat his wife wholeheartedly. Once he takes a concubine and goes out to attract women, he will become more and more stupid in the future, so stupid that his superiors will want to kick him out. She sneered, and a mocking arc appeared at the corner of her lips. Then there will be a good show to watch. You said this a long time ago? Yunxi waved her hand, not caring about this at all. It's your age that surprises me. In our village, people who are 65 years old have wrinkles on their faces, and their grandchildren can go to school. Unlike Yazai, people believe that she is only 17 or 18 years old. That's right. She suddenly remembered that if she couldn't catch field mice in the village, she had to leave the village. No wonder everyone said that this was a matter of several generations. In their village, the village chief was replaced every few years, which meant several generations, right? After thinking for a while, she turned to look at Josiah again. Xiaoyu, what about you? Are you also in your 50s or 60s? Josiah blinked and said softly, no, I'm only 20 years old this year. You are ignorant. Yazai snorted lightly, leaning slightly to the side, and her whole figure looked more charming and attractive. Generally, people in the countryside get married early, but people in our city just go out to make a living at the age of 18 or 19, and generally get married after the age of 50. But my family got engaged relatively early. My family found a date for me when I was 18, and I got engaged to Luoqi when I was 22. I'm still a young man now. If you want to talk about old, then Luoqi is old, okay. He's already 120 years old, Yazai said with disdain. As long as you practice martial arts, even if it is the lowest level white-grade martial arts, your lifespan will be longer after you learn it, at least 300 years. Yunxi was shocked. This was the first time she heard of this. When she was in the village, old people who could live to the age of 50 or 60 were considered long-lived, not to mention 200 or 300 years old. Josiah was also stunned. Luoqi is actually 120 years old? Isn't that older than my grandfather? When my grandfather saved his father before, why didn't his family say anything? They even said that they wanted to marry me to repay the favor. And he should have been engaged to you at that time, right? They didn't say anything. When she thought about how she almost got married to such an old man, she patted her chest with lingering fear. Fortunately, he didn't marry me. Otherwise, if I married him, then, after she finished speaking, her eyes turned red. Yunxi had a headache. What's going on with this messed up timeline? She was almost dizzy. Thinking about it, she glanced at Yazai meaningfully. Yazai took the initiative to fall in love with Luoqi. At that time, Luoqi was so much older than her, and he was really a heavy taste. Yazai's face was blue and purple, and she obviously felt that she had a brain seizure before. Finally, Yunxi changed the subject. By the way, what about the martial arts that you said can increase lifespan? Do you think I can pass on the skills of the academy to the villagers and let them learn? This way, their lifespan can be extended. The villagers helped her a lot, and she also wanted to help the village. If the villagers could practice martial arts, they would be much safer and would not have to worry every day, afraid that some player would suddenly come to cause trouble again. HMPH. Fool, you must not do this. Yazai frowned and glared at her. The academy has never stopped people from spreading the skills, but look at the people outside. How many of them know martial arts? What do you think it's for, Yunxi? Why, if you give the secret manual of the skills to others, the person who receives the skills will be implicated with you. Once that person does something harmful to the world, it will be counted on you. When you advance in martial arts, you will be struck by lightning. Yazai sat up straight. In the past, there was a senior who spread the secret manual of the skills. As a result, there were several particularly vicious people among the martial arts learners, who killed and set fire to people all day long. Later, when the senior advanced, several thunders fell from the sky and struck the senior to death. No wonder no one teaches others. She felt a little tricky for a while, hoping to come across a better skill in the future, so that everyone can be a good person or something. Can I learn the skills too? Josiah was also a little eager to hear this. Not yet. If you want to learn the skills, you at least have to be able to see. Otherwise, you won't even be able to figure out the acupuncture points. In your situation, you must find an expert with master-level recovery skills to recover. Yazai stretched out his hand to feel her pulse and frowned slightly. It's a pity that master-level experts are too rare. Huh? Is the skill you taught me before, Yazai? Okay, Lu Yunxi suddenly had an idea. It's okay, but it's very difficult. The technique I gave you is purple. If you want to break through to the advanced level, you just need to practice non-stop, but it's very difficult to break through to the master level. The techniques are divided into 6 grades: white, green, blue, purple, orange, and gold, corresponding to the 6 levels of internship: elementary, intermediate, advanced, master, and grandmaster. For example, if it is a green technique, it is easy to learn the elementary level, but it is very difficult to break through the elementary level. Therefore, the golden technique is the legendary existence. Who doesn't want to have a good technique to give themselves the skills of the grandmaster level? Lu Yunxi listened silently, thinking of the fire stick technique she created before, which was indeed stuck at the internship level. Obviously, the proficiency was full, but it could not continue to improve. As if she noticed that the atmosphere was a bit stiff, Josiah smiled and comforted them. Don't worry, it will always be better. Is it you? How dare you call someone to beat me? Wait. You will be kicked out tomorrow, and never dream of staying in the academy again, Lu Oki said with a sullen face and murderous intent. Lu Yunxi remained calm, with a faint smile on her lips, as if she didn't hear his words. Sir, do you want to borrow a book or return a book? She had already finished reading all the exercises in the academy and was thinking about leaving. Unexpectedly, a pillow was delivered to her when she was sleepy. What a coincidence. If Luoki really took action, she wouldn't have to wait for someone to take over. Luoki was so angry that his face turned red. You're finished. You don't know what's good for you. Before he finished speaking, someone just happened to walk in. The person was Miss Gu. Good morning, Miss Gu. Are you here to borrow a book today? Lu Yunxi ignored Luoki and smiled and took 2 steps towards Miss Gu. Luoki's body trembled unconsciously, and his originally ferocious expression turned back to his original faint smile. Ms. Lu, good morning. You, Brother Luo. You are here too. Miss Gu had just finished greeting Lu Yunxi when she noticed Luoki, whose face was a little pale. She couldn't help but worry. Brother Luo, what's wrong with you? Luoki lowered his eyes to cover the flash of light in his eyes. He looked up at Lu Yunxi hesitantly, and then he stammered, nothing. That? Miss Gu, can you help me borrow books in the future? I just don't want to move around. Following Luoki's gaze, Miss Gu cast a suspicious look. Lu Yunxi? Good at you, Luoki. You are so good at pretending. People who don't know would think that she did something, so he didn't dare to come. Chapter 45 Leaving the Academy. Miss Gu, don't blame Miss Lu. She was having a hard time, too, so she accidentally did something wrong. No. That's not what I meant. Miss Lu certainly didn't seduce me. I want to go back first. I'll trouble Miss Gu to help me borrow a book next time. Luoki said a few words with a pale face, then looked at Lu Yunxi uneasily for a few times before running away. His back seemed to be running away in panic. Miss Gu hurriedly chased after him, but she lost him after not far. The group of people following Miss Gu quickly chimed in. It must be that woman who is pestering Brother Luo, otherwise why would Brother Luo not even dare to enter the library? Sister Gu, we must teach that woman a lesson. Otherwise, if anyone pesters Brother Luo, what will Sister Gu do? I'll have someone fire her and tell her to get out of our academy. The woman, who was surrounded by the crowd, stopped the people behind her. Wait. We haven't found out yet. You are not allowed to take action against her, Sister Gu. A group of girls were so angry that they stomped their feet. Miss Gu ignored their dissatisfaction and looked up suspiciously and muttered to herself, Miss Lu, is she really such a person? Everyone left the garden with different thoughts. After they left, Lu Yunxi came out from behind the rockery with an unpredictable look. Miss Gu was not the same as she imagined. She originally thought that Luoki's fiancé was a person who forcibly robbed other people's fiancés, but the more they got along, the more she felt that she was not such a person. She thought for a while, wrote a letter, released a pigeon, and asked Yazai to investigate. Yazai is indeed a person who dares to pretend to be tied up by bandits and follow them to the cave to spend the night. The speed of collecting information is also very fast. That night, Lu Yunxi received her reply. The Gu family is indeed a very powerful family in the capital. In addition, there is only one girl in their family, so it is natural that no matter how much they love her, it is not too much. In order to protect their girl, they decided to marry her to a slightly worse family, so that they would not be afraid that she would be bullied. Among the scholars who went to Beijing to take the exam, Luo Qi stood out because of his handsome appearance. The Gu family immediately sent someone to ask Luo Qi if he was married. Was he engaged? Was there a girl he liked? However, not long after Luo Qi entered the capital, he found out more about the big families in the capital, and naturally understood what kind of behemoth the Gu family was. Facing the Gu family, he shook his head and said to the person asking the question, he has never been engaged, and he has never liked anyone. He used to be devoted to studying, and later when his parents left, he was busy observing mourning, and came to the capital after observing mourning. The people of the Gu family were surprised and delighted. When they learned that Luo Qi's family had been officials before, they were even happier. This guy must have something to talk about with their girl. After Luo Qi passed the imperial examination, the Gu family tested him again and finally arranged his marriage with a girl of the Gu family. Luo Qi used the excuse of going home to visit his relatives to quickly go back and deal with Yazai and Zhou Xianwu, and deliberately misinterpreted the meaning so that they would kill each other, and then return to the capital. As for why he came to the academy to study now, it was because the Gu family wanted him to get a better official position. Yunxi can naturally be appointed as an official, but if you want to reach the level of the 4th or 5th rank for the first time, you usually come to the academy to gain experience, which is much faster than being transferred to a small place. After receiving the news, Yunxi pondered for a while, and then quickly sent a letter to Yazai, asking her to prepare it early. The people from the Gu family who went to investigate should also be about to take action a few days later. In a room in the academy. Miss, we have found out what you asked us to investigate. Before, the son-in-law, Mr. Luo did want to ask her out while you were away, but Miss Lu didn't go out at all, and you just happened to receive a letter, so you didn't need to go out anymore, so you returned to the academy. Miss Gu sat quietly, and after listening to her subordinate's report, her expression was unclear. So, Miss Lu has never seduced Brother Luo? Yes, rather than saying that Miss Lu has a relationship with Mr. Luo, it's better to say that the girls who follow you have a close relationship with Mr. Luo. She sat quietly for a while, her eyes wandering, and I don't know what she was thinking. After a long while, she got up. Let's go. Take me to see the two people you found. Mr. Luo's two previous fiancés. Miss Gu traveled very low-key and entered Jinzhou in a carriage. Yunxi originally wanted to follow her to see, but unfortunately, a few passers-by appeared in front of her to block the way. Passers-by. Although she didn't know the names of these passers-by, she had some impression of their appearance. They were the followers who often followed Miss Gu. Hey? Sister Gu is gone. What are you going to do? How dare you hit Brother Qi? Damn it, wait. Don't hide her. What if Brother Qi feels sorry for her and goes to comfort her after you hide her? Yunxi was speechless, watching a group of people with an average level of LV3 and a maximum level of no more than LV5 discussing how to deal with her in front of her. Ignorance is really fearless. A group of followers gathered together and discussed something, then walked away with a subtle smile. Yunxi? Are you here to cause trouble for her? That's it? Did they just walk around in front of her? However, before she could finish her inner complaints, she saw the group of followers just now walking in with a middle-aged man. After the middle-aged man came over, the group of followers stood in the distance and watched, their eyes full of gloating. The man was the one who was in charge of these employees. He looked serious. Xiao Lu, do you know you made a mistake? She sneered. Miss, what mistake did I make? She wanted to see what kind of crime these people had put on her. The steward shook his head and glanced at the people in the distance. When he was sure that they could not get close to hear, he lowered his voice. Miss Lu, you actually did a good job in the academy and were responsible, but you got into big trouble this time. Although those families are not as good as the Gu family, they are not easy to mess with. They insisted on expelling you, saying that they wanted to teach you a lesson. The steward sighed a little. In fact, he liked Xiao Lu, a junior, very much. But he was just an ordinary person and could not fight against these big families. Go back, don't come here again. The steward's voice was a little low, and he left after he finished speaking. Yunxi looked very depressed. She went back to pack her things slowly. Under the gloating onlookers of the group of followers, she left the academy with heavy steps, looking reluctant. Until she could no longer see the academy, Yunxi suddenly quickened her pace, quickly found a safe cave, and took out the things that the steward had stuffed into her. A letter and a book of exercises. Xiao Lu, there will always be a lot of troubles in life. The letter was full of chicken soup. The steward was afraid that she would go the wrong way, so he comforted her and finally mentioned this book of exercises, which was also a compensation for her. It turned out that this book of exercises was the strongest in the academy. In addition to those who have made great contributions to the academy and those employees who have worked for hundreds of years, even those from big families cannot learn this book of exercises at will. They must also make enough contributions. In the academy, few people even know the existence of this book of exercises. Yunxi blinked her eyes and was overjoyed. In other words, this book of exercises is a treasure that even Miss Gu and the others cannot get. Let her take a look. However, when she opened the copied exercises, she found that this was actually a blue-grade exercise. Yes, it is better than the white and green one in the academy, but it is not even as good as the one that Yassi taught me. Haha. Chapter 46. I knew it earlier. Yunxi looked at the blue technique in her hand. It was not right to throw it away, nor was it right to keep it. In the end, she opened the blue technique carefully for the sake of her own good. This technique was actually quite useful. Unlike what she imagined, although this technique was only a blue-grade technique, it was a defensive technique that could open a protective shield around her to protect herself and be immune to all attacks. In other words, with this protective shield, she no longer had to worry about being beaten to death. Of course, the protective shield also had limitations. How much attack it could defend depended on the strength of its owner. It could only defend against attacks one level higher than itself. For example, if the person using the protective shield was a beginner, then it could only defend against intermediate attacks. If it was a high-level master, then the protective shield would be useless. It was precisely because of this limitation that the protective shield was only a blue-grade technique. Yunxi nodded with satisfaction and began to practice without saying a word. While she was busy learning new techniques, Luoqi also came to the outside of Miss Gu's yard. Miss Gu? Miss Gu, he knocked hard on the door, but no one responded. After thinking for a while, he saw that no one was around, so he secretly pushed the door open and walked in. A woman's boudoir is different from a man's. It is covered with light gauze curtains. The table, bed, and even a low stool are all made of fine wood and carved with exquisite and gorgeous patterns. Luoqi's eyes swept over those precious and gorgeous decorations, and a hint of jealousy flashed in his eyes. But soon, he calmed down and searched the house seriously. I wonder if the good things sent by the Gu family are placed in the house? However, when he scanned the letter on the table, he was suddenly shocked. Yassi. Josiah. The Gu family actually sent someone to investigate his past. Damn it. Are those two women still alive? His face suddenly sank, and he looked around uneasily, with cold sweat flowing down. He didn't care about looking for any good things anymore. He quickly left the room, closed the door, and ran back to his room. He took out the money he had hidden with a distressed look, counted it twice, and then put the purse in his arms and hurried out the door. Welcome this guest, quick. Help me check the two women, one is called Josiah and the other is called Josiah, and get rid of them immediately after finding them. Luoqi hurriedly interrupted the shopkeeper and took out his purse directly. How much silver do you want? The shopkeeper paused for a moment, and then asked with a smile, excuse me, do you have any other information about these two people? If you only have their names. Luoqi was anxious about the Gu family's investigation of him, and he didn't notice that a familiar figure on the second floor of the building opposite him was looking at him steadily. After a long time. Tell my parents that this Mr. Luo has a low character and is not a good match. Find a way to cancel the engagement. By the way, go to the opposite shop and tell them not to take business that embarrasses the two girls. Miss Gu stood up and walked away expressionlessly. Before leaving, she looked deeply at Luoqi opposite. What's going on? Where did Miss Lu go? Sister Gu, why are you still calling her Miss Lu? She's a bad woman. We've already driven her away, you don't have to worry about her snatching Brother Luo away anymore. Miss Gu looked at the person who was speaking with an ambiguous look in her eyes, but ignored her. Instead, the meaning of her words. She frowned, gave a few instructions to her subordinates, and then turned to look at the group of girls in front of her. I have already found out that Brother Luo has nothing to do with Miss Lu, but it has something to do with some of you. She glanced coldly at the person with flickering eyes in front of her, but she didn't name anyone. I have decided to cancel my engagement with Mr. Luo. From now on, he and I have nothing to do with each other. Everyone was shocked and looked up at her in disbelief. Miss Gu didn't care about their expressions and left calmly. A few days later, Yunxi practiced her new skills and came out of the deep mountains and old forests. The person she saw when she entered the city was Miss Gu in a red dress. Across from her, the beauty in red looked even more delicate. Her own clothes were dirty and covered in mud, and she looked like she had rolled over in a mud pit 100 times. Yunxi was silent for a while. Miss Gu, what's the matter, Miss Lu? I'm here to apologize to you. Apologize? She asked in confusion. Yes, the girls who followed me were a little extreme, and they had you kicked out. It's all because I didn't control them well. Miss Gu's eyes were full of guilt. I brought a little gift, as a little apology from me. I'm really sorry. Yunxi looked at the woman who bowed deeply to her and smiled. Gifts? No need, right? After all, how can you be blamed for this? Other people's affairs can never be blamed on you. The two looked at each other, with relief and appreciation in their eyes. While the two were talking, in the academy. Let me go. What are you doing? I'm the son-in-law of the Gu family. You'd better not touch me. Luo Qi collapsed and yelled, trying to break free from the two strong men behind him and wanted to escape. Unfortunately, the two strong men behind him were unmoved. You are the son-in-law of the Gu family? How dare you say that when you are a boastful person? You are obviously a liar. You even deliberately caused your ex-fiancé to almost die. Be honest. You dare to lie to people who got in through the back door of the Gu family. You will no longer be a student of the academy. Luo Qi, who was kicked out of the academy gate, was about to collapse. He wanted to chase after them and beg for mercy, but he could only see the backs of the two people clapping their hands and turning around and walking away. He hated them so much. Yazai and Zhou, this hatred is irreconcilable. He swears not to be a human being if he doesn't give them a good show. On the other hand, the girls who had a somewhat too close relationship with Luo Qi before also turned pale and quickly found their subordinates, wanting to ask the family for help. However, faster than the letter they sent, it was the news from the family. Just because of such a scumbag, you actually got into trouble with the Gu family. In order to ensure that other people in the family are not implicated, you are expelled from the family. You have to find a way to live on your own in the future. Stop messing around outside in the name of the family. The letters received by everyone were more or less the same. After reading the letters, they collapsed to the ground. They were abandoned by the family. Originally, they came to the academy to gain experience according to the family's wishes so that they could get married in the future. But now, what do they have in the future? The family will not give them anything, not a penny. How are they going to live in the future? A group of people fell to the ground with empty eyes, with unstoppable regret and emptiness in their hearts. If they had known earlier, they would not have gone to find Luo Qi. Just because of the desire to surpass the daughter of the Gu family in their hearts, now they have become like this. Chapter 47 Dream. Yasi. Xiaoyu, hey, Zhou Xiaoyu responded subconsciously. Wait? Who are you? Yaxi pulled Zhou Xiaoyu behind her and looked at the dirty man in front of her with a vigilant face. A few days ago, someone came to tell her that Luo Qi, the seriously ill guy, sent someone to trouble them again. If someone hadn't stopped them, they would be in trouble now. Now this person suddenly appeared. Maybe Luo Qi has sent someone again. Before, that person didn't take this business. There will always be someone willing to trouble them for money. After all, the task of troublesome them is simple and profitable. Why not do it? The more she thought about it, the more nervous she became. Yaxi pulled Zhou Xiaoyu back and tried to hide in a crowded place and take the opportunity to slip away. Question mark? What are you talking about? Yaxi, are you old and confused? The dirty man looked at her inexplicably, touched his face, revealing the white skin on his face. It's me. Yaxi was stunned. This voice seems to sound a little familiar. It was Zhou Xiaoyu who immediately identified the person who came. Xiaoxi. Yaxi reacted and gasped. Xiaoxi, how did you become like this? The two relaxed and took a step forward, but they smelled a foul smell before they got close. They were startled and immediately took a few steps back and covered their noses. Yunxi twitched her eyes and was too lazy to argue with him. She directly gave a large sum of money and asked the waiter to bring up 3 buckets of water. She went into the room and washed it frantically. For her nose, Yunxi kindly provided the flower petals she bought at a high price for bathing. An hour later, Yunxi came out refreshed. The room was still filled with heat and humidity. The three simply sat down in the lobby on the first floor and ordered a plate of peanuts. I didn't get so dirty when I pretended to be caught by bandits before, Yunxi complained. Yunxi sat down. Alice, I have been practicing in the mountains for a while, so I am a little dirty when I come out. Anyway, I was just kicked out of the academy. How about you comfort me? Nothing else, I just want to try the signature banquet in the inn. She winked at Yunxi suggestively. Josiah's heart softened when she heard this pitiful voice, and she hurriedly comforted her. I can't afford the banquet in the inn, but my cooking skills are also good. Yunxi, if you want to eat, Yunxi rolled her eyes, glared at her, patted Yunxi's hand and comforted her. Yunxi, you are too naive. Do you think Yunxi will really be kicked out of the academy if she doesn't want to leave the academy? Most likely, she wanted to leave the academy a long time ago, and she took the opportunity to leave. Maybe she even got some wool. Yunxi. Yunxi really knows her well. It's exactly right. It's a pity that I wanted to have a free meal at the Tongfu Inn. This is what the locals in Jianzhou recommend the most. The banquet dishes at Tongfu Inn will change according to the season, but they are all very delicious, and everyone who has eaten them will praise them. Unfortunately, you have to place an order half a month in advance, and a banquet costs 1 gold. 1,000 copper coins equal 1 silver, and 1,000 silver equals 1 gold, which means that this meal will cost 1,000 silver. Yunxi silently calculated in her mind. Well, sure enough, all her previous money added together is not enough for this meal. Just when Yunxi was full of regrets, Yunxi suddenly said, but I happen to be in a good mood today, so I'll invite you two to see the banquet at Tongfu Inn. Yunxi and Josiah were both shocked. Why don't we just forget it? It's too expensive. Josiah just listened to the popular science of the two people and knew that this meal was very expensive, so he suddenly felt a little uneasy. Yunxi was also a little surprised. She had said that just now. In fact, it was a bit of a joke. After all, if they learned from others that she had left the academy, she didn't know what they would think. What if they did something wrong in anger? She didn't want to go to the prison to see these two people. Who knew that Yunxi actually agreed? Yunxi, are you so rich? She sat up straight in disbelief. 1,000 silver. This is not 1 silver or 2 silver. Yunxi stroked her hair and smiled charmingly. Do you think I am you? The spellmaster can make a few gold coins for just 1 order. Rich woman, please support me. Yunxi rushed over, hugged her thighs, and acted flattering, making the two laugh. Yunxi looked at the two people who were smiling on their faces, but sighed in her heart. Yunxi must have felt very sorry. She didn't know spells when she was young. It was only after her parents died that she found the ancestral secret book when she was sorting out the things at home, and then she began to learn spells. Yunxi's face showed no regrets at all. She looked noble and cold, and gently raised her hand. My dear, please get up. A group of people laughed and made a mess. The banquet won't be so fast. The Gu family came to apologize before, and sent a lot of good things. Let's eat together later. No, the Gu family also sent me something, Yunxi and Josiah said in unison. Everyone was stunned, and then curiously checked their gifts. It's actually white jade paste. This is a holy product for healing. This medicine is just right for the scars on Xiao's face. It should be much better after using it for a while. Yunxi looked at the things Josiah took out and asked her to put them away quickly. And these medicinal materials are for the eyes. They are all top-quality medicinal materials. What Yunxi got was a green-grade spell technique, and it must have taken a lot of effort to get it. Yunxi got a bottle of pills. After taking it, all her skills increased. All her skills were upgraded by 1 level. It was a magical medicine. She was so happy. She didn't have to spend time to brush up her skills. Isn't it wonderful? Unfortunately, this kind of pill was also obtained by the Gu family by chance. It was hard to find, and Yunxi couldn't find any relevant information. Now she has eaten it all. In addition, the 3 of them also got a 3-story house in Jianzhou. The location is relatively close to the central area, but not too noisy. The interior has been decorated long ago, each with its own style, and it looks very beautiful. The Gu family is not bad, Yunxi sighed. After all, although they are the source of this matter, they can't be blamed. However, this group of people was only concerned with admiring, and did not notice that a ragged man outside was staring at the things on their table, especially the bottle in front of Lu Yunxi. That bottle, isn't that the magical pill that he has been dreaming of? Ah! Damn Gu family. He asked for it for so long and didn't give it to him, but gave it to an insignificant person. Ah! A scream rang out. The three of them turned around at the same time, only to see a beggar staring at them with hatred, and rushing towards them with hatred on his face. Fortunately, the thugs in the inn were experienced and stopped the beggar with one hand. He was beaten and thrown out before he could even get 3 meters away from the three of them. You bastard, you robbed us. If you dare to come again, I will break your legs. From then on, there was one less scholar named Luoqi in Jinzhou City, and one more lame beggar. Chapter 48 Can't Go. Half a month later. After enjoying a delicious banquet, Lu Yunxi was inspired and studied cooking in seclusion. She not only replicated the dishes on the banquet, but also created many dishes of her own. It didn't take long for her to max out her advanced cooking skills, which were originally upgraded with elixirs, and it was faster than the previous upgrade from intermediate to advanced. Unfortunately, it is not so easy to upgrade from advanced to master. After she maxed out her proficiency, she did not continue to break through. Yaxi and Josiah were amazed by her cooking skills and came to her house every day to eat. However, after a month, Lu Yunxi decided to set off. Yaxi and Josiah bought a shop in Jinzhou. They usually sold sundries and did some small business in the shop. Seeing that their business was on the right track, Lu Yunxi naturally had to start her own mission. No one knows where her aunt is now. Yaxi was worried that she didn't understand anything, so she reminded her again, Yaxi, you have just reached the intermediate level. You can go anywhere in the country, but if you want to go to other countries, you can't go there with your military strength. Lu Yunxi knew that her friend was worried about her, so she nodded. But who is Yaxi? She saw her disapproval at a glance and warned her again and again, it's really a waste of time for you to go there. Unless you can reach the advanced level, otherwise when you reach the border, it will be like encountering a ghost wall and you can't go out at all. Of course, you can also ask a master who has reached the advanced level to take you out, otherwise you will never get out. Lu Yunxi. She remembered that on the way to Jinzhou for the first time, she encountered an air wall. Did other NPCs also encounter such a thing? But she was able to come over suddenly later. Was it because she became stronger? Apart from becoming stronger, is there no other way? She frowned. Then those who have never practiced martial arts in their lives, won't they never be able to go out? This is also to protect our safety. Each city has arranged the Bagua formation to prevent people from entering and leaving, Yazai explained. Not only can you become stronger in martial arts, but you can also learn skills related to your profession. Because you are a chef now, if you can become a master chef, you can also go out easily. Related to profession? No wonder she couldn't get into Jinzhou at first. She used to be an ordinary villager, and only found a job as a chef after entering the town. Oh, I almost forgot. I searched all over the country, but there is no news about your aunt. She is likely to be somewhere else. If you want to find her, it's better to improve your martial arts. It is said that the way outside is much more dangerous than here. When she was about to leave, Yazai suddenly thought of something and paused. You'd better find a sect to practice martial arts, but it is said that the sects are hidden in the deep mountains and old forests, and I don't know where they are. After understanding the situation, Lu Yunxi said goodbye to her two friends and officially embarked on a new journey afternoon. Lu Yunxi was wearing a straw hat, holding a piece of grass in her mouth, sitting quietly on a small stool. If you didn't look at the people around her, you would think this was a leisurely landscape painting. However, looking to the side, you can see a group of people sitting on her left and right, while sitting on small stools, holding fishing rods tightly in their hands, looking serious. However, they looked serious, but kept talking. Fortunately, there are many fish in this river, otherwise no one would be able to catch any fish. Haha, fishing is so fun. Look at this fish, it weighs 2 kilograms, Alice, why do you think the fish we cook ourselves tastes so bad, but the ones cooked in restaurants and inns are so delicious? Oh, Lao Wang, forget it. Are you still thinking of learning cooking skills by yourself? I told you that you have to become a disciple to learn, but I really want to rely on myself. The fishing rod in her hand swayed slightly, and Lu Yunxi immediately concentrated her mind. She didn't listen to the people around her anymore, but quickly picked up the fish on the fishing rod and threw it into the bucket next to her. The person in charge of registration nearby immediately rushed up, weighed the fish, put it back into the bucket, and recorded it quickly. That's right. She was participating in a fishing competition. If she were the original her, she would definitely not participate in this kind of competition full of players. But a few days ago, when she passed by chance, she accidentally saw a player fighting a boss, and the player also asked her for help. Without thinking too much, she raised her bow and arrow, and defeated the boss in the wild in a few strokes. After sharing the equipment and silver with the passerby players, she suddenly realized that as long as she didn't say it, no one would find out that she was an NPC. That player thought she was a player and wanted to add her as a friend. If she went out to fight monsters by herself, she would not drop silver, copper plates, equipment or the like, but as long as she teamed up with other players to fight monsters, she could also get a lot of supplies. It's much more cost-effective than selling them at the grocery store after she worked hard to get them. From then on, when she saw the players' activities again, she not only did not avoid them, but actively participated in them. After all, she really couldn't find any clues about the sect now. So this is why she squatted among a large group of players and pretended to be a player to participate in the activities. What kind of fishing competition is this? Anyone who participates will get a participation award, and the top 3 will be rewarded with high-quality things. I just don't know how high the quality is. I don't know. Beauty. Beauty. Just as she fell into a sweet dream, the shaking palm in front of her finally woke her up. She paused suddenly and sat up straight. When she realized what was happening, she realized that it was the man next door who was laughing and approaching her. She was speechless. What's the matter, he? Beauty, I just saw you fishing so fast. Do you have any tricks? The man laughed and stretched out his hand. Yunxi looked at the hand that was getting closer and closer, with a calm expression on her face, but she secretly raised her eyebrows in her heart. He wanted to take advantage of her by asking questions. He was looking for death. Seeing that the hand was about to touch her, Yunxi snorted coldly, took the opportunity to stretch out her hand, and wanted to give the man a backhand. However, the next second, the strange touch in her hand made her stunned. She lowered her head blankly and looked at the small purse in her hand. Her fingers trembled, and she opened the purse inexplicably, and found that there were 100 silvers in it. She raised her head and looked at the man in front of her with a silly smile. What kind of naive person is this? A trivial question actually cost 100 silvers to buy. Is this the taste of money falling from the sky? Yunxi was holding the bag and was ready to move, but her conscience finally defeated the evil in her heart. She returned the bag to the man and turned her head away, unwilling to look at it again. Keep it for yourself, this problem is not worth your time. Because my fishing skills have reached the intermediate level, I can fish quickly and well. The man scratched his head, and seeing her determined face, he had to accept the bag, rummaged through his backpack, and finally found a big bag of food for her. This time she didn't refuse again. The dishes given by this kid were all blue products, and the food was very good. She finished her lunch with relish, and seeing that the people around her still had nothing, she reminded him, go to the novice village and take a look. Almost most of the novice villages have people who teach fishing. The man's eyes lit up. Miss, what is your ID? I'll add you as a friend. At this time, Yunxi's game time was up, so she packed up her fishing rod. Hearing this, she immediately refused. After all, she was actually a fake player. If she added a friend and people found out that she was an NPC, it would be strange if she didn't get sliced and studied. Before Yunxi had walked far, she heard a loud voice behind her. Sister, my name is Super Awesome Hero, you must add me when you go back. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 49 Alone. Congratulations, girl, you have successfully passed the preliminary round. This is your reward. The staff member handed her the silver and ingredients in his hand with enthusiasm, as well as an invitation letter. The final will be held in the suburbs of Beijing in 3 days. As long as you bring the invitation letter in your hand, you can directly reach Beijing through the teleportation array at the government office. Yunxi looked at the silver and found that there were actually 10 silvers. It was indeed much easier than hunting hard. And the ingredient was a purple fish, the highest grade ingredient she had ever seen. She immediately became eager to move. Even the preliminary round had 10 silvers, so what about the final? Thinking of this, her waist and legs were no longer painful, and she didn't care that it was almost night. She rushed to the river excitedly and started to brush her proficiency. One night passed. Yunxi looked at her fishing proficiency that was about to break through, and she endured for 3 days regardless of everything. Finally, she brushed her fishing to a high level. Then she barely slept for half an hour and rushed to the venue of the final with 2 huge dark circles under her eyes. The lake outside Beijing. Unlike the crowded preliminary round, there were only 10 players in the final. On the contrary, there were many more spectators, not only players but also NPCs, who surrounded the contestants tightly, as if they were watching a monkey show. Yunxi came a little late and was the second to last to enter. She stood at the back and watched the people in front of her come out one by one, and the spectators screamed, "Oh my God! Look at that skirt, she looks like a little fairy, so pretty, isn't she? Sisters, let's go buy it together, come on, second brother. Second brother is the best. Second brother must win." The second contestant to appear, the elegant nobleman, I believe everyone is very familiar with him. He is the great god who won the first place in painting skills on our game rankings. Look at him in white clothes, he really deserves his elegant name. When Yunxi appeared on the stage, he heard the anchor shouting loudly, "Oh! A new contestant has appeared. She is the only lady in the audience. She is very mysterious. The anchor has not found this big guy on the rankings yet, and the last person to enter was a person who arrived at the last moment. He was seen gently shaking a paper fan, wearing a black dress, and walked slowly towards him with a smile on his face. I didn't expect that you all have arrived. I came down late. Please forgive me." However, he was not very pretentious, probably because he seldom used the paper fan. He finished his words, but he did not throw the paper fan away with one hand. In the end, he had to hold the paper fan open with both hands, and then fanned it slowly. Yunxi. After everyone arrived at their respective positions, they sat down and concentrated on fishing. After a fierce, actually a calm competition, Yunxi successfully won the first place. "Let's congratulate this girl." The official commentator raised her hand, and she smiled brightly. Then, she took her prize 100 silver and an orange quality fish, and she was so happy that she couldn't close her mouth. Yunxi looked at the dish she made and jumped 3 feet high. Yunxi, finally became a master chef. It's not easy. She went through a lot of hardships. It wasn't that difficult. After maxing out her cooking proficiency, she used the prize of the fishing competition, an orange quality fish, to make an orange quality dish. Successfully broke through to the master level. This is her first skill that has reached the master level. After she improved her cooking skills to the master level, she finally understood how awesome the master level is. "Master Lu, thanks to your guidance some time ago, the dishes in our restaurant are much more delicious. I wonder if our restaurant has the honor to invite you to taste them." "Master Lu, I'm from XX Mountain. I heard that you are a very powerful cooking master, so I specially want to ask you for advice. I wonder if you can give me some advice." "Master Lu, it's really a great honor for you to come to our small restaurant. Please sit down, I'll make you a bowl of noodles right away. This is the signature of our small restaurant." In short, Yunxi was very satisfied. Of course, she swore that she was definitely not satisfied because she always had free food when she went out. However, seeing that everyone was so enthusiastic, she still gave some good advice. As she became familiar with the neighbors around her, she gradually understood that there were many senior chefs, but master chefs were very rare. Any skill was a hurdle when it came to upgrading from senior to master level. Most people can't make it in their lifetime. It is said that there are only 2 or 3 master chefs in the country. Except for Yunxi, who was just promoted, no one knows which mountain everyone else went to find ingredients. Yunxi suddenly realized. No wonder people around her flattered her so much. When she went out, someone sent her a carriage. When she bought things, everyone rushed to her door for free. Food, clothing, housing and transportation were all covered by others. However, after living such a decadent life for a while, she couldn't stand it anymore. No one likes to be watched by others every day. After getting an interesting news, Yunxi packed up and left the capital quickly. After half a month of long journey, Yunxi finally found the place mentioned in the forum. Although as a master chef, she has the right to use the teleportation array for free, the place mentioned in the forum is in the mountains, and there is no city nearby, so she wasted so much time, mainly circling in the mountains. Yunxi squatted in the bushes, watching the players coming and going through here. Although this was once just a mountainous area, it has now become a lively place, even more lively than an ordinary town. Players were seen in groups of 3 or 5, shouting something, walking to a cave, as if they had stepped over an invisible wall and disappeared completely. She observed for a while, determined the location, and then opened the forum again and carefully read the post above. Experience points for the bandit dungeon. First, when you go in, remember to bring a blood cow that can resist beating. The dungeon boss's moves are very powerful. If you don't have someone who can resist it, you will definitely die. Secondly, the dungeon boss's moves are. When she saw this, Yunxi paused. Because the words below were, if you want to continue reading the content of this post, please click here to pay, she silently glanced at the word payment and was a little disappointed. After all, she was an NPC, where would she get the real currency to pay? It seems that she can only rush in. She gritted her teeth, thought again and again, and decided to prepare more supplies and go in to try. Fight. The bicycle becomes a motorcycle. After all, the highest level of the people outside was only LV 28, and she was now in her 30s, plus she had the blood recovery skill and protective shield, which was barely enough. Finally, Yunxi put all the steamed buns that she had made before to recover blood and mana in a convenient place in the space, picked up the bow and arrow and hurried into the dungeon. Fortunately, you don't have to form a team to enter the dungeon. Yunxi went in alone and successfully entered the dungeon. Chapter 50, European Emperor. After Yunxi entered the dungeon, the scene in front of her changed. From the outside, the cave was extremely narrow, and it almost reached the end as soon as she entered. However, after entering the dungeon, the entire cave turned into a small path, and torches were placed on the walls on both sides in an orderly manner, and you could see clearly all the way forward. Thinking of what was said in the post, at the beginning, they were all small minions, and you just had to attack them madly. She walked forward quickly, crossed the empty path, and came to an open area with many people. Looking up at the big red words, bandit minions, above their heads, Yunxi breathed a sigh of relief. There were only 20 or so level 10. Not to mention 20, 30 would be easy. No wonder the post said this level was easy to pass. Yunxi immediately raised her bow and arrow, and with a sharp look in her eyes, she shot the arrow. Now she has learned the Liu family's archery skills to a high level, and has added a group attack move, 10,000 arrows. When an arrow is released, tens of thousands of arrows condensed by mana will be released together, attacking the enemy within 10 meters of the first arrow. However, before she could try the power of this move, she found that the minions in front of her had been easily dealt with by her. After the minions disappeared, there were a lot of copper coins and equipment left on the ground. She was surprised and happy. Originally, she just wanted to gain experience and level up, but she didn't expect that she would get drops when she played the dungeon alone, although they were all blank equipment. She picked them all up, threw them into the space, and continued to move forward. The second wave of levels was a little more difficult. There were about 10 people, all ordinary bandits, about LV 15th to 20th. She immediately stepped back 2 steps, pulled away, and then shouted 10,000 arrows, and tens of thousands of arrows fell into the group of bandits. The bandits were dealt with in one move. Yunxi was overjoyed. It was very difficult before I finally broke through the family's skills to the intermediate level. After taking the elixir given by Miss Gu and turning it into an advanced skill, this ultimate move is really amazing. It's a pity that the experience post said that it's a bit difficult to fight here. She sat down, looked at her half-empty mana bar, and immediately took out a vegetable buns to restore the mana. After replenishing the mana, Yunxi continued to move forward and came to the 3rd level. There were only 5 people in the 3rd level, who were cotters of the bandits. According to the experience post, they were in the range of level 25-30 on average. However, looking at the 5 people with LV 30 on their heads in front of her, she twitched her eyes. It is said that it is still very rare to have 5 people at level 30. So far, only one unlucky team has encountered such a situation, and then the whole army was wiped out, and they complained wildly on the forum. That's it. For a weak team, the stronger the opponent, of course, the more trouble it will have. But for her who wants to upgrade, I will make sure they will never come back. Yunxi first quickly distanced herself from the enemy, and then immediately used a big move, firing thousands of arrows. They were still half blood left, so she immediately used another big move, directly reducing the mana bar to the bottom, and the 5 people on the opposite side instantly turned into a few rays of light and disappeared. Picking up her own spoils, Yunxi replenished her mana and trotted forward again. The next step is the last level. The boss has appeared. Yunxi looked at the red light flashing on the body of the 35-level bandit leader in front of her, and quickly took a step back. How to beat the boss requires purchasing information to see, and there is too little knowledge about this guy. She watched for a while and tentatively released arrows. However, this big boss, which is said to be very difficult to beat, was not as difficult as she imagined. Under a few poisonous arrows, this guy fell to the ground, bursting with light, and dropped things all over the floor. Yunxi. This guy has no special features except for using a big move when he's beaten to only half blood and 1/3 of his blood. It is mediocre at other times. There are so many people complaining about the difficulty of beating the boss in the forum. If the players heard her, they would be so nauseous that they would vomit blood. What kind of Versailles statement is this? Easy to beat? Are you kidding? This boss can break the defense with one move, and the attack power is very high. When releasing the big move, it will release double critical strikes, and this is locked, and it is absolutely impossible to avoid it. The whole team will be hit by this critical strike. Therefore, every team must bring a blood cow that can resist attacks and inners who can restore blood. However, most people have learned skills of attacking, and even skills to resist monsters are very rare, not to mention skills that can restore blood. In the end, without a nurse, everyone can only fight with a lot of blood and blue medicines by themselves. Generally, they take medicines while fighting, and they are about to collapse. As a master chef, Yunxi can directly replenish her blood with a meat bun, and a vegetable bun can replenish her mana. Naturally, she doesn't need to be as tired as the players and drink medicine until she is full. She picked up the loot casually and prepared to play a few more copies and see what was dropped in the evening. However, just after she walked out of the dungeon, a special effect like fireworks suddenly appeared in front of her. Yunxi was slightly startled and stopped. Ling. Congratulations on successfully achieving the achievement of clearing a dungeon alone and breaking the record for the shortest clearance time. Do you want to announce it to the world? She paused and immediately chose no. However, the next second, the players around her were in an uproar. Look at the system announcement. The record for the shortest clearance time has been broken. Oh my god. Our team took an hour, and this team only took 5 minutes. Yunxi twitched her eyes. The system lied to her. Didn't I say not to announce it to the world? It's a pity that this team has hidden their names, otherwise we would know which bosses are so awesome. Is it the boss who ranks first on the list? I worship the boss. I wonder if I can become his apprentice. So awesome. I want to be his leg pendant. Humph. That's all. When I level up, I can clear the level in 1 minute, not to mention 5 minutes. The whispers of the players came, and Yunxi's heart instantly fell back to where it was. Fortunately, she had enough of being stared at by NPCs and having no private life at all. She didn't want to be watched by the players again. Hiding in the crowd, Yunxi played several more dungeons. At night, she found a relatively safe cave and looked through the forum. Almost all players knew about the dungeon. There were several similar bandit dungeons in each country. Except for pure life players, almost everyone had played the dungeon, so many people were showing off what they got. What good things did everyone get after defeating the boss? My luck was average, so I got a set of blue equipment. Don't be so Versailles, the blue equipment is already very good. We worked so hard to get 2 green equipment, haha. Your luck is too bad, right? After I won, I got a skilled book of group attack. This is the first time I heard of a group attack move. The upstairs is so lucky. Absorb the upstairs luck. Yunxi looked for a while and fell silent. It turns out that it is so rare for players to have group attack skills. Then she should not use this killer move in front of players in the future. Otherwise, she will be chased by people to become their apprentices every day. Scary. She opened her own space, but was suddenly shocked. A whole set of purple equipment, a purple skill book, and many purple quality medicinal materials and ingredients. Oh my. So she is the Emperor of Luck. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like, Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.